All right, you and I are about to dive into a crazy story. It starts in the dead of night with a blood-curdling scream. A maid rushes to open the door, only to find a desperate adventurer pleading for a healer, his leg in a mangled state. The red-haired man desperately begs for a doctor. Just hours ago, he was in a much better place. Our adventurer, Loose Taker, was relieved to reach safety. He cursed the shadow wolves, knowing they hunted in packs, but he only expected to face a small handful of them. But after being swarmed by 30 beasts, he realized survival wouldn't be easy. Even facing just one of those monsters was a complete nightmare. With his leg throbbing in excruciating pain, he knew he needed a healer fast. He immediately dragged himself to the guild to secure an emergency loan. The guild receptionist hands over his slip, explaining his debt will be deducted from his next quest rewards. As he limps away, barely able to focus through the blinding agony, someone nearby overhears his quiet groans. Fearing his mangled leg won't even let him reach the church, Loose Taker freezes as a stranger approaches. A man dressed entirely in white asks if he needs medical aid, claiming his search ends right here. He promises cheap, high-quality care, and get this, payment is only due after treatment. This immediately makes Loose Taker suspicious, so he demands to see a healer's badge. Ever since healing became highly profitable, fake doctors have been popping up everywhere. To combat this, the guild issues official badges. Knowing only frauds operate without them, the adventurer demands proof. But shockingly, the man admits the guild never gave him one because he can't cast any magic. Hearing that, Loose Taker immediately walks away, scoffing at the stranger and writing him off as a total fraud. But the healer calmly points out the claw marks, analyzing that his attacker was incredibly powerful. He then mentions that the battle must have taken place right outside the village gates. The adventurer's annoyance turns to pure shock when the quack correctly identifies his opponents as black wolves. He highlights the severely swollen ankle, detailing exactly how wrecked the fighter's body must be. Loose Taker is completely stunned by this stranger's insanely sharp observation skills. Smiling, the stranger insists his job is saving lives. He notes that temple priests are overpriced, while guild healers charge half. But when he offers an even cheaper rate, he loses all credibility. Now, watch closely. Here's where it gets interesting. The adventurer walks away, but the shady man warns him that normal magic won't save him from the agony ahead. To Loose Taker's extreme annoyance, he discovers that he and the mysterious doctor, who offered late-night treatment, are actually staying at the exact same inn. Later that night, the adventurer visits the cathedral. But after casting the recovery spell, the greedy priest demands an astronomical 620,000 gold coins for the treatment. The massive price tag leaves him totally broke. Walking back to the inn, he tries to comfort himself, believing it was worth it, even though his leg still feels incredibly strange. Brushing the feeling aside, he tries to sleep. But hours later, a blood-curdling scream echoes through the inn. His leg is ballooning up rapidly, and tears of pure agony stream down his face. He begs the maid to find him a doctor. Loose Taker is completely bewildered, wondering why the temple's expensive spell failed. Right then, the mysterious words of the magicless healer flash through his mind. He warned that spells were useless and offered his aid if the pain returned. Desperate, the dying adventurer demands to see that very same magicless doctor. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who is this guy? Right on cue, the magicless healer, Sunyam Kang, makes his entrance. The quack and the patient cross paths once again. The doctor sends the maid away before smugly asking about the results of that expensive church healing. The adventurer bitterly notes the disastrous outcome is pretty obvious. A smug smile spreads across the doctor's face. But as the desperate patient begs for relief, the healer casually demands a massive 300,000 gold before he even begins. This leaves the injured adventurer absolutely floored. The grinning doctor makes it clear he won't lift a single finger without his gold first. Swallowing his raging anger, he demands to know why the price suddenly doubled. The doctor calmly explains that because his pain is now 3 times worse, the fee doubled. As the healer prepares to walk out, the penniless adventurer desperately offers his sword as collateral. He begs him to take it, pleading that it is worth at least 200,000 gold on the market. Inspecting the weapon, the shady doctor doubts its true value. Still, he makes an exception, accepting the blade as payment. But the relieved adventurer is stunned when the sword suddenly vanishes into thin air. As the examination begins, the panicked fighter asks if he is going to die. The doctor reassures him while gently pressing the swollen flesh, sending the adventurer into a fit of agonizing screams. He explains that certain injuries can never be cured by magic, and poison is one of them. Hearing this, the fighter is left completely paralyzed with shock. The healer shows him a strange berry from the black linkberry tree, an extremely toxic plant that can paralyze a grown man with just a single touch. He explains that shadow wolves nest near these trees to coat their claws in toxin, making hunting effortless. In an instant, the horrifying truth of his condition finally clicks. Panic sets in as the adventurer begs the doctor to save his leg from permanent paralysis. Pulling out a mysterious purple vial, the healer reveals there is indeed a cure. Loose Taker shivers in terror as the doctor pulls out a razor-sharp scalpel, demanding to know what it is for. The doctor explains that this specific antidote cannot be swallowed. It must be applied directly inside the infected wound. Though he prefers cleaner methods, he has absolutely no other choice, leaving his patient utterly terrified. Admitting he cannot use magic and has no anesthesia for the pain, the quack slices the leg wide open, unleashing a scream of pure agony from the helpless adventurer. The healer orders his patient to hold still so he does not ruin the procedure. As he pours the first vial, he notes the irony of people expecting magic to solve everything. Pouring the second bottle, he tells the man to either endure the pain or pass out. This is Sunyam Kang, a magicless healer from Azul, who was forced into this shady life of quackery. 3 years ago, our protagonist woke up in a mysterious yet strangely familiar cavern. He was dragged into an alternate world teeming with deadly magic beasts and powerful sorcery. When the system forces him to choose a character class, he is intrigued to find himself designated as a healer. Fortunately, he is not alone, as other summoned earthlings are right there with him, heatedly debating whether they should try to escape or adapt to this wild environment. Comparing his bizarre reality to a fantasy novel, the protagonist notices a strange question mark next to his healer status window. Nearby, a woman urges the group to cooperate, arguing that teamwork is their only shot at surviving the monster hordes. Realizing that everyone has received unique classes and abilities, the intrigued protagonist quickly opens his status screen to inspect his own skills. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how these insane abilities turn this quack into a god. Alright, you and I are about to watch a healer who literally does not have a single healing spell. Back in the present, the operation wraps up. Our crazy doctor tells his patient the surgery was a success, but he needs to rest his leg for a few days. The guy is incredibly grateful, thanking the man in white for saving his life, but Sun Yang Kang just shrugs it off. His life was never in danger. The adventurer stands there completely shocked, realizing his leg was completely cured without a single drop of magic. Before apologizing for calling him a fraud, Sun Yang Kang laughs it off, admitting that a healer who cannot heal does sound totally crazy. This kind, down-to-earth attitude quickly wins the adventurer over. But then he admits he actually loves watching people who mocked him beg for his help, revealing his true, petty side. Later, at the Bitsfall restaurant, our hero orders a meal combo from a worker named Julia. While waiting for his food, Sun Yang Kang decides to write in his journal, reflecting on all the weird new habits he has picked up in this bizarre world. This wild dimension is crawling with monsters and toxic zones. Every single day is a literal fight to survive, and our main character is just counting down the days until he can go home. Suddenly, a loud scream cuts through the air. Julia has injured herself. Sun Yang Kang rushes over, startling the poor girl, and asks to look at her hand, even though she insists she's completely fine. To save time, our hero activates his observation eye and looks closely at the wound. He realizes she only cut her finger, meaning all she needs is a quick wrap to stop the bleeding. She accepts his help after he points out that an injured hand cannot cook a good meal. Our hero then uses a simple stitch to quickly close the wound, leaving her incredibly grateful. This nice deed earns him a bonus point, which he can use to spin his lucky gacha roulette. He decides to roll it 5 times in a row. The first 4 spins give him absolutely garbage rewards, which pisses him off, but the 5th roll finally lands him a brand new skill. He is shocked to find that this new skill, Spray, lets him turn any absorbed potion into a mist, while actually boosting its healing power. After finishing his dinner, he decides to test it out with a small health potion. He absorbs the red liquid into his body and uses Spray to turn it into a beautiful crimson healing mist. This is perfect for treating patients, and way better than just dumping sticky potions on raw wounds. But as he tries it again, he accidentally startles a random guy who was walking right past him. Silence fills the air. The guy gets knocked on his ass and feels totally insulted. He draws his sword, refusing to accept any of our healer's quick apologies. Now pay attention here, the swordsman thought it was an attack, but our hero reveals he actually just fully restored the guy's health bar. The stranger is thrilled to meet a healer and begs for forgiveness, admitting he is just a clueless country bumpkin. Sun Yang Kang is not surprised, since this is a rare dimension traveler skill anyway. Our hero gets interested when the young warrior invites him to join his party. The swordsman explains that they desperately need a healer and already have 3 members ready to go. Curious about the quest, Sun Yang Kang listens as the swordsman explains they are hunting rare monsters for a massive payout of 1,200,000 gold. It sounds like a sweet deal, especially since he would be their only healer. Meanwhile, over at the Adventurers Guild, a wounded client asks another healer to show off his abilities. This new healer boasts that he is perfect for the job. Later, when they meet up at the guild, everyone is shocked when our hero taps the swordsman on the shoulder, reminding them that they agreed on a team of 4, not 5. And just like that, the team realizes they accidentally hired 2 healers for the same job. The party leader explains that a bigger group means a smaller split of the gold, but both healers quickly say they have absolutely no issue with that. This makes Sun Yang Kang realize that he and the rival healer are both chasing the exact same goal. After the party leader, Fiel, and our hero introduce themselves, the rival starts shooting him some serious death stares. Later, as they trek deep into the woods, the party's archer mentions how relieved she is to have 2 healers backing them up. Meanwhile, the rival healer is still super salty. Back at the guild, he had bragged about all his fancy healing spells, which had initially left the entire party deeply impressed. But then, and I know you're going to love this, our hero showed off his spray skill, stealing the spotlight completely. Angry and annoyed, the rival watches as Sun Yang Kang asks about their target. Fiel replies that it is a sewer rat, a very common monster on this continent. The rest of the group laughs, thinking this is going to be incredibly easy money. But our hero knows better and senses something is off. He asks the adventurers if they have ever hunted this monster before, but they all say no. Even the rival healer only has 1 year of experience. Sensing danger, Sun Yang Kang suggests heading back to town to stock up on proper potions before fighting a rare variant monster. But the team leader refuses, saying they have already come way too far. The rival healer immediately calls our hero a coward, mockingly telling him to just run back home. So, Sun Yang Kang actually turns around and leaves, shocking everyone. Fiel says it is his loss, but our hero warns them he will charge 300,000 gold each to heal them after they fail. As he walks away, the group starts trash-talking his bad attitude. The rival healer is absolutely thrilled, thinking he can now keep all the legendary loot and glory for himself. They soon track down the giant sewer rat, which is radiating a terrifyingly dark aura. The healer tells them to trust his magic as they all charge headfirst into battle. Fiel leaps in to crush it with one heavy punch, but the beast suddenly vanishes. The archer panics as the monster reappears right behind her, letting out a terrifying roar. Its overwhelming power shocks them, forcing them to burn through more mana than expected. Seeing his team struggle, the rival healer tries to buff them with his magic. But suddenly, the ground begins to violently shake. The adventurers watch in absolute horror as the giant boss charges right at them, flanked by an entire wave of smaller rats. A brutal battle begins. The healer panics as his teammates are easily torn apart. He spots Rick running for his life and screams at him for being a total coward. Suddenly, a magic portal opens up right in front of them. Rick tries to escape, crying out an apology for not being able to save them, but both men are shocked when they end up face to face. The swordsman realizes they are completely trapped with no way out. Just as the healer is about to give up all hope, a familiar voice calls out, saying, "This was bound to happen." Suddenly, a brilliant green magic wraps around the trembling healer. Our hero appears, reminding them to use their brains, because nobody pays that much gold for a normal rat. The green energy easily pushes the swarm back, and the healer looks up to see our hero standing tall. But Fiel yells out that the monsters are charging at them once again. Our hero remembers that this guy has a shield of light skill, but his hope is cut short when the young mage starts crying that he has completely run out of mana. So, our hero pulls out a mana potion. Using Absorb and Spray, he boosts its power to supercharge the kid's mana, and trust me, we are about to see a whole new level of healing. Alright, you and I are about to see a guy get completely blown away, remembering when he was told that such godlike power was impossible for mortals and that only the great gods could ever wield it. Our main character is totally confused when the young healer suddenly bows. In a complete panic, Mark Bello asks which god he actually is, begging forgiveness for his rudeness and swearing to tell the entire world about his legendary deeds. Sun Yang Kang stays quiet to spare the kid any more embarrassment. But there is no time to chat. The giant rats have trapped the unconscious party and are charging in for the kill. Mark Bello kicks one of the pests away before quickly chanting a spell to cast Shield of Light, successfully pushing back the entire swarm of rats. Our hero is surprised to see the young healer actually has some skills, but still tells him to stay out of his way as he steps forward. Kang fends off the rats after downing a potion, realizing why this giant boss has such a massive bounty. It is because of its special trap skill called Pride, which lets it control its own kin. Suddenly, the beast activates area control, creating a mini dungeon to trap anyone trying to escape. But Sun Yang Kang came prepared, pulling out an interdimensional pest killer, the ultimate Dentrol Mint Concentrate. It is a deadly poison for these monsters, Charging forward, our hero worries that he does not have enough poison for every single rat, but spraying this stuff should definitely tip the scales of the battle in his favor. Taking advantage of the beast's momentary distraction, Kang lunges forward, grabs the giant rat, and drives his blade straight into its skull using incision. The monster screeches in agony, charging forward to slam our annoyed Doctor and White against a nearby tree. Missing its target, the giant rat rams its own head into the wall. Narrowly escaping a crushing death, Kang notices the beast is still oozing pure pride. Meanwhile, Mark Bello keeps chanting his holy prayers to stay out of the way, only to realize that absolutely none of the rats are targeting him. Instead, the Doctor in White is getting completely swarmed by the massive pack. The young healer tries to offer a helping hand, but Kang instantly shuts him down. He downs a recovery potion for constant healing, knowing he has to put this boss down before the buff runs out. But just as the endless swarm pushes him to the limit, the massive boss lunges forward and sinks its teeth deep into his leg. Screaming in agony, our hero slashes the beast's face to break free from its jaws. But the sheer force of the damage completely cancels out his healing potion's active effects. Using his stench skill to quickly patch up the bleeding, the hero remarks on how arrogant this monster must be because of its unique status. Now pay attention here, because the boss hits him with a brutal debuff called Intense Pressure, which doubles both mana costs and damage taken. This is a massive problem since his skills are now heavily restricted, just as the entire swarm charges at our healer, but Kang is completely unfazed. Who needs mana to win a fight anyway? Pulling out his blade, he targets the beast's vital spots and drives it deep into its neck before ripping the weapon back out. The giant rat collapses to the floor. Looking at his bleeding body, Kang realizes these are actually just light scratches, though he honestly doubted he would survive the day. Right then, a system notification pops up. He has unlocked a rare achievement for defeating the beast in a solo 1 versus 1, which brings a smile to his face. If that young healer had stepped in, he would have missed out on this entirely, though he is quite amused that even the achievement reward is decided by a roulette spin. He lands on a skill called Throw, which doubles damage based on accuracy and boosts projectile effects. Initially disappointed, he takes a closer look at the buff and realizes that even a tiny drop of poison could now become a lethal weapon. But before he can think more on it, the young healer nervously approaches him. As the kid starts rambling about how he will keep everything he saw today a total secret, Kang just brushes him off and tells him to revive the rest of the party. Just like that, the fallen party members start to open their eyes. Fariel wakes up in sheer terror, staring at the massive rat head above him, while Kang casually asks if he slept well. You and I both know that Fariel is completely speechless when the Doctor in White sarcastically confirms he took down the giant monster all by himself, despite being a healer. With that settled, our greedy doctor bills them 300,000 gold each before casually slicing open the monster's corpse. To their utter shock, he pulls out his real prize, a rare item with an unknown name. Kang pretends to feel guilty about keeping all the loot, but the party leader insists he fully deserves it for saving their lives, wishing they could offer even more. Kang decides to offer them a celebratory drink, but the female adventurer politely declines, explaining that they are heading back to their hometown tomorrow morning. The party leader explains to our confused hero that they all came from the same village, and after nearly dying in the pursuit of easy money, they are giving up the dangerous life of adventuring for good. Knowing exactly how lucrative yet deadly this business can be, our main character completely understands their decision. With that, the young healer bids a warm farewell to the rest of the party. Kang turns his drink invitation to the kid, but the young man admits he is strictly forbidden from drinking alcohol. Our hero tells the boy that they should act like complete strangers, but is left totally speechless when the kid assumes he is just keeping a low profile. The young healer walks off to the exit, muttering about how he is still far too unworthy to witness our hero's grand celestial arrival. The doctor is stunned to have gained a fanatical worshipper, but shakes it off and rushes over to get his mysterious new item appraised. Reaching the appraiser, he meets the guild official in charge. You see, all monster loot is sealed inside magical marbles, which can only be opened once they are properly unshackled. Our hero presents the marble to the official. The appraiser is instantly stunned by its appearance, making the doctor believe he has found a truly massive jackpot as the official begins his evaluation. When he finishes, the man claims the marble only holds a C-class talisman containing a tiny spark of life. Intrigued, our hero listens as the owner offers him 120,000 gold instead of 80,000. Suspecting something, Kang pulls out a mysterious potion and pours it over the marble, but nothing happens. Kang explains that this is a Lechia potion, a popular liquid that glows brightly upon contact with blood. He then points out that he recently used this exact same potion on his beast-slaying dagger. The metal starts to glow when he pours it on the blade, proving that even after a thorough wash, traces of monster blood remained. The shopkeeper begins to sweat as Kang points out that the marble, which came directly from inside the beast, should have far more blood on it than a clean dagger. Unless, of course, there is one explanation. Suddenly, Kang grabs the scammer by his head and violently slams it onto the desk, declaring the marble to be a fake. He continues the brutal beatdown until the man is covered in blood and glowing liquid. The bruised appraiser desperately claims that the guild will back him up, but Kang is completely unimpressed, slamming his head against the table with even more force. Just as the guy is about to pass out, our hero casts Stench to instantly heal his wounds, leaving him utterly terrified. Our terrifying protagonist in white realizes he hasn't even introduced himself, while the eye-patched scammer finally guesses his true class. The moment Kang introduces himself as a healer, the man freezes in pure dread. As the old saying goes, if you are going to scam someone, make sure it is not a healer. Anyone who brings in these rare relics is either insanely powerful or has a twisted obsession with hunting monsters. At that moment, the man realizes how right his master was. You and I can both agree. There's nothing scarier than a healer who cures your wounds just to beat you again. All right, you and I are diving back in as the shopkeeper senses zero holy power. He reveals this: marble holds a B+ rank focus ring. Our hero is completely stunned when the shopkeeper reveals its true worth is 6,400,000 gold. He is seriously annoyed, realizing he was almost scammed into selling it for dirt cheap. Why is it worth so much? Well, the focus ring boosts concentration and gives massive buffs, making it absolutely vital for mages. Samyang Kang is thrilled with this reward, knowing there is a huge market for it. With that settled, our hero decides to unseal the ring and asks for a talisman. But the guy who helps stop these scams reminds him he still has to pay for that C-rank relic. Later that night, sitting inside a cozy pub, our hero starts dreaming about how his massive new funds are going to buy him one spectacular night. But right then, a waiter tells him the place is packed, asking him to share a table or leave. Suddenly, someone calls out to him. The voice sounds incredibly familiar to Sayan Kang, and sure enough, it is Ho-jang Kim, who is absolutely thrilled to run into him. The two friends start catching up since they haven't seen each other in 2 months. Ho-jin Kim mentions how happy he is to see Sunyan Kang tonight, especially since it looks like he got paid handsomely. The guy starts bragging about making 2 million gold, offering to buy drinks for Sunyang Kang, who quickly realizes that cheap beer is not going to cut it for tonight's celebration. Ho-jin Kim is shocked when his friend suggests some insanely expensive drinks. Just as he starts to complain about the crazy prices, our hero laughs it off and promises he is treating tonight as he orders a feast. Later on, Ho-jang Kim admits just how shocked he is to see our protagonist doing way better than him financially. Sunyang Kang smiles, saying luck was just on his side today. Ho-jang Kim then asks if he needs a stamina potion, bringing up how exhausting it must be to constantly worry about stamina limits, which our hero admits is a pain. Stamina is different from health points, and potions cannot restore it. Sunyan Kang needs it to use his skills, though at first, he assumed his lack of magic was just because he is an earthling. But pay attention here, other earthlings, like Ho-jang Kim, can actually use magic, unlike our magicless hero. The guy points out there must be a bright side, and our hero agrees since stamina potions are dirt cheap compared to mana. With that, Ho-jang Kim raises a glass, proposing a toast to both of them and their pitiful powers. The earthlings clink their glasses, and as the drinks flow, Ho-jang Kim gets a bit carried away. Seizing the moment, Sunyan Kang decides to ask him a question, which Ho-jang Kim immediately senses must be incredibly important. Especially when Simi Kang demands they turn off their universal translator skill, suddenly plunging them both into a confusing sea of alien gibberish. Ho-jang Kim asks if he finally found a way back to Earth, but our hero shakes his head. Instead, he wants to talk about his strange new skill, specifically how this throw skill has a mysterious black star in its title. This leaves Ho-jang Kim completely baffled, and our hero admits he has never seen anything like it either, far exceeding any normal skill. Ho-jang Kim mutters that maybe he should start hunting rare monsters too, even if he has no clue how. But right then, he suddenly remembers a former party member who possessed a very similar star skill. When asked for a name, he struggles to remember but finally calls him John Kim, instantly intriguing our hero. Even though he was a fellow Earthling, this guy was a total legend who supposedly wiped out an entire monster wave all by himself. When asked how he got so overpowered, the guy revealed he had a black star skill. But weirdly enough, on the final day of their mission, he was seen screaming something totally bizarre. He was shouting about finally collecting 4 of these star skills, claiming it might be their ticket back to Earth. Hearing this blows our hero's mind as their night out finally comes to an end. Totally drunk on high-end alcohol, Ho Jang Kim promises his friend that he will be the one treating him to those pricey drinks next time, which our hero gladly accepts. Our hero says he needs to buy potions for his friends before heading back to the inn. And they part ways. Walking back, Sei and young Kang can't stop thinking about those star skills and what happens once you collect 4. You and I both know something major will happen, making this mystery the ultimate ticket back to Earth. Still, our hero is puzzled by the guy who gathered 4, considering he almost died just getting his first one. He also finds it crazy that his friend could casually forget such an important detail. With that in mind, our hero resolves to work hard tomorrow to grind some extra points. The next morning at the village market, the passing crowd is immediately drawn to his spot. They see a sign promising that a healer will cure them for cheap, even welcoming barters. Wearing a friendly smile, Sun Yang Kang stands ready to welcome his potential customers. When asked about his credentials, our hero proudly says he heals people for a living. But suddenly, a passing woman recognizes him, mocking him as a fake doctor who has no magic and never even earned an official healer badge. Just like that, the crowd starts gossiping and bad-mouthing him, leaving the front of his stand completely empty. Honestly, it is not much of a surprise. But our healer knew his real target audience was not the high and mighty fighters anyway. Right on cue, a poor lady approaches, asking if he really accepts barters before offering a simple basket of potatoes for his medical help. A warm smile spreads across her face when the young man gladly accepts her offer and asks about her ailment. She explains she hurt her arm working out on the farm. Pure fear fills her eyes as she explains how an acquaintance died from an infected finger after a minor hoe injury. Saman Kang quickly realizes she is terrified of the incurable bacterial infection known as tetanus. Since no vaccines exist in this fantasy world, he quickly activates his observation skills to carefully inspect the wound and assess its condition. Turns out, it is just a minor scratch from a hoe 2 days ago that might get infected if she doesn't change the bandage. Our fake healer breathes a sigh of relief, knowing it is not the deadly disease. He gently reassures the worried lady that she is not going to die. Handing her a jar, he tells her it is the cure. He presents a special cream, calling it a semi-solid potion, and instructs her to apply it morning and night while keeping the bandage clean. But then he realizes she does not even have a bandage. Excusing himself, he uses his fabric-making skill on some basic hay to weave a clean, usable bandage on the spot. Samyeon Kang even decides to craft a few extra, knowing how expensive real bandages are for poor commoners. Feeling incredibly grateful, the treated lady prays for her lord to protect this kind-hearted young healer. Our protagonist is happy with this start, seeing how it easily earned him some points. Seeing this, the surrounding villagers gather around, rushing to the generous healer who does not demand gold to treat them. This leaves our hero incredibly pleased, racking up a total of 172 points from their grateful prayers. Sun Yum Kang is overjoyed at how ridiculously easy it is to farm points here. While hunting monsters is a decent choice, our hero much prefers earning points by peacefully curing the local villagers. But right as he begins hoping all his future clients will be just like these humble villagers, his box of potions is suddenly kicked hard. This grabs our hero's attention as a mysterious figure mocks his rundown shop before demanding potions. Watching this unfold, our irritated hero tries his best to contain his rising anger, asking the arrogant blonde guy exactly what he thinks he is looking at. Our hero looks closely at the boy, intrigued to find someone of obviously noble descent standing at a cheap, low-end street vendor stall like this. Samyeon Kang points to his semi-solid potions, telling the kid this is all he has to offer. This makes the blonde boy and his guard realize he is their target. And trust me, you and I are about to see this get very wild. Alright, you and I are about to watch this arrogant noble try to flex his family name on our main character. This kid is Leadheart Aerv, the third son of a massive, super powerful house. The doctor asks why they are even here, prompting the guard to bow politely and explain that the head of their household is in desperate need of his services. This leaves our hero quite intrigued, since a prideful family would never normally seek out a street healer. Meanwhile, the bratty noble starts whining about having to come here himself. The guard calmly responds that he is merely following his master's direct orders. With that, he tosses a heavy sack right at our main character. The young noble snaps in anger because Sun Yam Kang has no clue what is inside. The guard quickly steps in, explaining that those are the rare medical herbs needed to purge a deadly plague. Our hero instantly realizes this involves the Western Infection Zone. That region was once a beautiful paradise, but now it is choked with toxic poison, which is exactly why the noble family's forces are dropping like flies from the plague they are fighting. The guard adds that one of their servants had previously bought a powerful potion from this very stand, especially since their usual potion suppliers are located far too far away. Hearing this, Sun Yam Kang cracks a satisfied smile, finally putting together why the prestigious third son has personally paid him a visit. He is the only healer capable of crafting dense, cream-like ointments which work wonders on infected wounds compared to regular liquid potions. The smug noble is thrilled the healer understands his worth, promising that his wealthy father could upgrade this trash shop into a high-end lab. Leehart Ayurv decides to lay it out plain and simple, telling our main character that he is being offered a massive honor he does not even deserve. Now pay attention to this absolute shocker. The blonde noble demands that our main character start brewing right now, but the healer straight up refuses him. The blonde noble gets furious, demanding the healer repeat those words. His servant literally has to hold him back as he gets rejected for the second time in a row. He rages that his father's offer is way too generous for a street quack, but our hero casually points out that he cannot do the job anyway because he is not a registered pharmacist. Sure, our main character knows the job pays insanely well, but taking it would trap him in endless, annoying side quests when all he wants is to grind for system points. But honestly, his biggest reason for saying no is this bratty noble's trash attitude. Suddenly, a young boy named Wall runs up, crying hysterically while carrying his younger brother, who looks like he is on the verge of death. Our main character activates his observation skill and discovers a horrific wound. A rusty farm sickle has sliced the poor kid's finger completely off. He quickly starts cleaning the wound, knowing a filthy farming tool means massive risk of infection. As Wall panics for his brother, a mocking laugh echoes behind them. The arrogant noble calls the scene pathetic, claiming a mere pharmacist could never handle a severed finger since they only know how to treat basic poisons and diseases. The smug noble boasts by activating his own healing light skill, claiming only a high-class healer like him can save the boy. Our main character is stunned to realize they actually share the exact same class, but when asked to help, the noble refuses, sneering that dirty commoners cannot afford his holy magic. He says he will only help if our main character apologizes and accepts his father's offer right now. This immediately feels suspicious to our hero, as a proud aristocrat would never lower himself like this. He realizes the desperate noble needs his cooperation badly. Our main character declines the offer and prepares to heal the kid himself, making the blonde brat furious. He explains he just needs to stitch the finger back on. He is incredibly glad he pre-crafted some sterile saline solution earlier, allowing him to quickly sanitize the cut. The blonde noble starts mocking him, yelling that the kid is not a toy, which only annoys our busy healer. The mocking aristocrat decides to put his magical fortune necklace on the line, betting that this street doctor will completely fail to save the boy's hand. Our hero accepts the challenge. If he successfully stitches the finger back on, the noble must treat and feed the poor local commoners for 3 entire days. With his pride on the line, the noble agrees, adding that if the healer fails, he must give up his medical title and work for his father's house. Even though he acts confident, our hero knows performing microsurgery in a dusty market is insane, but uses his mana potion to craft a specialized surgical thread to make it possible. Using his observation skill, our hero locks onto the hand. The noble thinks this street doctor has zero chance, but you and I are about to see everyone in that market drop their jaws. You see, our protagonist has 5 strict rules for surviving as an illegal doctor. The 5th is simple: do not wait for advanced skills, just masterfully combine what you already have. Just like that, Sun Young Kang is able to successfully sew the boy's finger back in place. The impossible operation is a complete success. This crazy surgery was only possible by combining his basic skills perfectly, and though it completely drains his brain, his special focus ring helps him push through. But as he goes to close up the skin, he panics. His stamina is almost entirely gone. He has to rush and finish before his energy bar hits 0, cutting the thread just in time. The finger is fully reattached, leaving our hero deeply relieved. The crowd of commoners cheers wildly, while the arrogant noble begins to shake in absolute terror. If the surgery had taken a few seconds longer, our hero would have passed out. Without wasting a moment, he pops his stamina recovery potion and casts his fully recovered skill to completely restore the boy's damaged hand. With the surgery finished, the irritated noble claims the finger is just dead weight and won't actually move. Our healer challenges him to test it, forcing the noble to cast resurrection on the sleeping boy. The boy wakes up and immediately begins moving his fingers on the doctor's command. Our healer is deeply satisfied, while the proud noble is left totally speechless. Our protagonist looks at the stunned man, reminding him of their bet. Just like that, Leehart is forced to hand over his precious fortune necklace and work as a free doctor for the peasants. The entire crowd is left completely stunned. The defeated noble throws his necklace to the dirt in frustration, prompting our main character to call him out for his terrible manners. Just like that, the healer claims the rare necklace of fortune, which actively decreases his bad luck. Wall tearfully thanks the doctor, but asks if that prideful noble will actually keep his promise. Our doctor explains that the noble's father is a highly honorable man who will definitely force his son to comply, so he tells Wall to spread the word about the free clinic. Later that night, back at the Beast Fall Inn, Julia asks our exhausted healer if he heard the massive news, and he tiredly begs her to just tell him. She reveals that Leehart is actually keeping his word, serving free food and medical aid to a massive crowd in the middle of the city square. When she worries that this free clinic will destroy the doctor's own business, our hero shrugs it off, saying he is just happy the poor are getting help. This instantly makes him look like a literal angel in her eyes. Little does she know, our main character is secretly laughing his head off at the noble's misery. He then asks Julia to cook up some potatoes for his dinner. She is determined to cook him a comforting plate of food. He appreciates the gesture, but trust me, you and I both know a simple meal can't fix his exhaustion. And that's where we leave it for now. Let's jump into this wild story where our healer gets absolute garbage rewards from 10 expensive roulette spins. But hey, he already knew the system wouldn't just hand him skills easily. His only consolation was pulling a crystal of vitality and an inventory expansion ticket. Without wasting a single second, the doctor pops the ticket, instantly unlocking a precious extra slot. But right as he is admiring this stamina-boosting crystal, someone who knows exactly what it is sneaks up on him. It is Ho-Jan, who actually just came to the inn for a tasty meal. Ho-Jan eagerly seizes the chance to brag, proudly showing off his crystal enhancement ticket and offering it to our healer with a smug grin. But the healer immediately reveals it is actually a fortune-making ticket. Confused, Ho-Jan quickly takes it back to avoid any awkwardness. That is when he spots the focus ring still in his friend's possession, assuming he decided to keep the rare item after all. Our main character, Song Kang, clarifies he only held onto it to fix a specific issue. He warns that a rare piece of gear like this should never be sold to some shady, random merchant. So Ho-Jan offers to introduce him to a trustworthy dealer. They head straight to a high-end weapon shop, and Song Kang is genuinely impressed by the sheer quality of his buddy's recommendation. The healer greets the owner and explains he is looking to trade some gear, but Song Kang is instantly thrown off when the merchant points out that his necklace is completely shattered. He gets highly annoyed at the noble who must have broken it by tossing it onto the dirt. However, his anger instantly vanishes when he hears just how much this broken piece is actually worth. Our hero presents his rare ring to the merchant, who immediately recognizes its immense value. While the old man evaluates it, Song Kang decides to browse the shop. While the shopkeeper flips through his ledger, the healer searches the shelves for anything useful. He spots a cool crossbow, and just as he reaches out, wondering if he should buy it, something bizarre occurs. Now pay attention here, the system suddenly orders him to obtain this weapon at all costs. He is completely baffled because the system has only ever shown text alerts, never actual commands. This sudden force makes Song Kang feel as though some hidden entity is actively watching his every move. But the shopkeeper snaps him out of his daze by walking over to check on him. Shaking it off, the healer pretends he was just lost in thought and quickly asks if this weapon is anything special. The old man explains it is the incredibly rare Freya crossbow, recently pulled from an ancient relic. It links to a special dimensional pouch, meaning any random junk put inside immediately turns into infinite ammo. He shows our healer how it can fire 5 devastating projectiles back to back. Incredibly impressed, the doctor asks for the price, already bracing himself for a massive number. Song Kang's jaw drops when he hears it costs 15 million gold. There is no way he can afford that. But the merchant offers a deal, promising to buy his focus ring for 6.5 million. Recognizing that his top market value, the healer calculates his funds. Even if he sells both the ring and the broken necklace, his emergency savings still fall short of the heavy price tag. So he decides to test a wild theory, looking up and asking the mysterious observer to send him 4 million gold. Naturally, he gets absolute silence, which does not really surprise him. Seeing his struggle, the kind merchant offers to hold the crossbow for him until he can raise the funds, completely catching our young hero off guard. The old man points out that someone with such rare gear will surely make the money in no time. This amazing customer service makes Song Kang realize exactly why his buddy recommended this shop, so he happily accepts. After buying a few supplies, he heads out. The very next day, our main character visits the Adventurer Guild, now equipped with his brand new stamina, boosting gear, and ready for action. He knows volunteering is great for guild points, but a man has to eat. Though he briefly considered begging Ho-Jan for a loan, he ultimately decides to browse the main quest board for paying jobs. Looking at his balance of just 5,000 gold, the healer realizes his financial situation is way worse than he originally thought. While discussing a way back to Earth, our hero reveals he finally has a solid lead. After 3 long years trapped in this fantasy realm, the godlike entity that brought him here has finally spoken. He suspects that if he can just buy that crossbow, he might actually trigger a conversation with the entity. But since Ho Jan snatched back his 5,000 gold after getting annoyed by his lack of gratitude, the doctor is forced to find immediate work. He squeezes through the busy crowds toward the healer section of the quest board, hoping to find a job that is actually worth his time. Just then, a guild staff member shyly calls him out, explaining that only registered adventurers are allowed to touch the quest sheets. The healer quickly reassures her that he is just browsing. She points out that these difficult quests are still open, but one flyer instantly catches his eye. It is an extremely urgent request for a healer to treat a leg wound that simply refuses to stop bleeding. You saw that too, right? Julia is completely shocked to see our healer return to the inn. He explains he is looking for a specific patient. When Song Kang locates the room, he is stunned to find a high-ranking priest healer inside, since priests rarely take dirty work from the public guild board. He figures the old healer must be a wandering priest. The distressed blonde girl begs the priest to save her friend, Rina, and the old man calmly asks her to uncover the injury. Song Kang stealthily activates his observation skill, revealing the heavy bleeding was caused by a razor-sharp blade. But what really catches the doctor's attention is a strange, hidden bite mark. Right as the priest begins casting his divine spell, our hero suddenly steps in and stops him. Annoyed and intrigued, the old man demands to know who this young upstart is. Song Kang introduces himself as a simple doctor, declaring that standard healing spells are totally useless here. The old priest is offended, believing this rookie is severely underestimating his holy powers. But as the hero tries to clarify, the panicked blonde girl cuts him off. Pointing at Rina's terrible state, she furiously orders him to leave the room if he is only going to talk nonsense. A cold shiver runs down her spine when the doctor firmly repeats that magic will not work. Frustrated, she shoves him out of the room, calling him a nuisance before slamming the door right in his face. As usual, nobody listens to the guy who is actually trying to help. Inside, the girl begs the priest to continue, but Seong Kang knows for a fact that it will not do a single thing. The elderly priest is left completely speechless as he casts his divine light once more, only for the deep gash to keep pouring out blood. Neither of them can believe their eyes as the blood continues to gush out. The girl truly believed a high priest from the Church of Iber could save her friend, but it is failing just like before. Right as Lizzie begins to completely lose hope, Rina weakly speaks up. Her friend quickly leans in, asking her what is wrong. Rina whispers that the healer in white was right about magic failing and begs her to find him. Though Lizzie is deeply skeptical of the shady-looking guy, she feels her friend's ice-cold hand and realizes she has no choice but to swallow her pride. A loud crash downstairs catches the innkeeper's attention. Lizzie rushes down, frantically describing the mysterious healer in white and begging the woman for his whereabouts. To her absolute shock, Julia simply points right behind her at Seong Kang. Sipping his drink, our doctor casually asks how that super-powerful holy magic worked out for them. Frustrated, Lizzie demands to know if he truly understands why her friend is suffering. And trust me, you and I can already see the smug grin on his face as she prepares to beg for his help. Alright, you and I are about to dive into one of the craziest healer stories ever. See, Lizzie just overheard the previous doctor say her friend was completely incurable because all the other healers were too weak, so she literally bows down and begs our main character for help. She feels incredibly guilty for begging after being so incredibly rude to him earlier, but his absolute silence catches her off guard. In reality, our main character is already heading out the door because he knows there is absolutely zero time to waste if he wants to save Rina. Lizzie is totally stunned but deeply relieved since she expected him to just reject her. Our doctor then points out a massive mistake, explaining that those wounds should have been fully examined before anyone cast a healing spell. He directs this savage call-out right at the embarrassed traveling priest, Father Hearthfin, who previously claimed magic was useless here. The priest immediately gets defensive, assuming the doctor is implying the patient was actually poisoned. Father Hearth proudly boasts that on top of his divine healing abilities, he has studied countless toxins to perfect his purification magic, meaning he has absolute confidence in his own medical knowledge. The priest firmly declares that poison is definitely not the issue, letting Dr. Kang see that this bragging healer is just like all the rest. But to the priest's utter shock, our main character agrees that poison is not the culprit. The sick girl introduces herself as Rina, and Dr. Kang immediately moves in to inspect her gruesome wound, asking her exactly how she got hurt in the first place. Rina explains that she got slashed a week ago just outside the village by a weak rock mole monster, so she did not really think much of the scratch at the time. But when Lizzie mentions that she was also injured during their travels, our clever protagonist asks if they arrived here immediately after that wild monster attack. Serena explains their brutal journey, including running into forest goblins in the jungle and battling deadly crocodiles in the Mukia swamp, which leaves the listening priest completely dumbfounded by their terrible luck. His confusion turns to sharp curiosity as Dr. Kang cracks a knowing smile when Lizzie reveals that her friend fell sick immediately after they reached town. With that crucial clue in mind, he gently asks Rena if she's feeling any pain right now. This suddenly makes her realize that her open wound actually does not hurt at all, leaving the priest completely flabbergasted. Instead of yelling at the girl for ignoring such a massive detail, Serena quickly explains she was simply too sick to notice. Hearing this, the priest confidently declares that the wound must be cursed with vile dark magic, the natural enemy of his holy powers, explaining his healing failure. But our main character quickly shut down the theory entirely. Now pay attention, because if real dark magic was actually at play here, the holy spell would have caused her agonizing pain. Pulling out a glowing potion, Dr. Kang announces there is only one way left to solve this. He combines his spray and absorb skills to turn the liquid into a fine mist, shooting it onto her leg. The priest is stunned by the clever trick, while Lizzie watches in absolute shock as the bleeding finally stops. Our main character casually mentions that his homemade mint extract is actually designed to wipe out nasty bugs. The mere mention of insects terrifies Rena. The doctor then points to tiny bite marks that were hidden beneath the blood, proving she must have been exposed to some nasty parasites lurking back in the Mukia swamp. This confuses Rena, since even without any protective gear, she was somehow the only member of their party to get infected. Turning to Lizzie, the doctor asks where they both got injured. She explains her own wounds were on her upper body, while Rena was hit directly in her leg. Suddenly, the truth hits Lizzie. Rena was the only one whose injury actually touched the swamp water. The doctor nods, confirming the infection came straight from the water. The priest finally realizes his massive mistake as the doctor explains that holy magic is totally useless if a foreign parasite is still living inside the patient's open flesh. Lizzie eagerly celebrates, thinking her friend is finally saved. But our hero quickly dampens her spirits, warning that this is just a temporary fix because any parasite capable of completely numbing pain has to be highly dangerous. Slicing her leg open, he warns them that a monster this tough would never be killed by a simple homemade potion. And yeah, I know what you were thinking, but brace yourselves, because a disgusting, horrifying parasite suddenly bursts right out of her open flesh. The priest is completely horrified, while our hero yells that they must kill it immediately. This is a black swamp leech, a notorious water monster. Suddenly, the beast swells up to a massive size and violently hurls the priest across the room while everyone watches. The monster ignores the humans entirely, making Dr. Kang realize it is trying to escape down the drainage pipe. He urgently yells at everyone to grab their weapons as fast as possible. Our hero instantly lunges forward, catching up to the squirming parasite in a flash to slice it with his scalpel. The disgusting beast bares its sharp teeth, fiercely clashing with the doctor. Dr. Kang is pushed back by the sheer power of this creature, which has been gorging on human blood for 7 straight days. Still, he refuses to back down, relentlessly slashing at its tough hide. But even with all that blood, its incredible speed still does not make sense to him. As it lunges for the drain, Lizzie rushes forward, leaps high into the air, grabs a heavy wooden cabinet, and slams it directly onto the monster's head, crushing it. She screams that she was never going to let this disgusting parasite escape, especially since it almost sent her best friend to an early grave. But to her horror, the beast is still alive and lunging straight for her throat. Fortunately, Dr. Kang kicks the monster away, slamming it hard against the wall. Our hero coats his blade in energy and stabs it right through its mouth. He knows it is only running on Rena's stolen blood, meaning a few more solid strikes will force it to bleed out entirely. The leech has shrunk significantly during this brutal brawl. Completely panicking, the creature frantically searches for an escape route before spotting a nearby glass window and charging headfirst right toward it. Just like that, the parasite crashes through to the outside. This puts our doctor on high alert because despite endless warnings to keep the clinic clean, the window is now completely shattered. He knows they will completely lose track of the beast if it reaches the village waterways, meaning all their hard work was completely in vain. Thinking fast, he smashes another bottle, absorbing the liquid to spray his homemade pest control formula directly onto the leech. Our hero then charges at the weakened monster, landing a lightning-fast strike that leaves the beast screaming in agony. His observation skill confirms that the monster has lost nearly all of its blood. Sensing the end, our hero prepares to deliver one final, decisive blow. But as he strikes down, a sudden shockwave hits him. A sharp metal shard flies right past his face, and he realizes his blade is shattered, just as a blinding light spell binds the thrashing beast in place. The priest gasps that this binding spell takes ages to chant, and he can only hold the beast for a few seconds, giving our doctor a crucial opening. But even with this extra time, he cannot slay the beast without a proper weapon. Luckily, Lizzie quickly tosses him a brand new sword, screaming for him to finish the job. With a massive struggle, the leech finally shatters its magical chains. But our hero is already airborne, descending with his new blade to unleash one final, devastating strike that cuts the dark water leech into absolute ribbons. The doctor confidently reassures the trembling onlookers that the threat is dead. He casually asks if anyone wants to keep the parasite's carcass, and when they all decline in disgust, he gladly pockets it for himself. Later that day, Rena is absolutely amazed. She and her friends are completely stunned by how neatly the doctor stitched up her torn flesh. Our hero assures her that the leg won't hurt at all, since he used a special magical needle that boosts her physical defense. Rena tears up in gratitude, deeply thanking him for saving her from what surely felt like certain death. Dr. Kang shrugs, saying he was only doing his job as a proper healer. He then tells the priest to write up his official report, reminding him to include every detail of his failed healing attempt. The old priest is left completely annoyed and confused, but as Dr. Kang explains, you and I know he is just securing the reward he truly deserves. Alright, let's jump into a story where even the elite can fall. Later that day, a shocking failure was reported to the guild. The receptionist was stunned because Father Hearth, the church's absolute best, had actually failed his mission. Right then, the receptionist spotted the man in white. She immediately blamed him, knowing him as Sunyun Kang, the quest intruder. As Lizzie demanded to cancel the mission, the guild panicked, fearing for their reputation and funding. With no other option, the receptionist had to accept. She officially canceled the quest, refunding 50% of the commission fee to Lizzie on behalf of the guild. Our main character could not take official requests, but he had a loophole accepting quests the guild had completely abandoned. His methods pissed off plenty of people since he had zero healing magic. Dr. Kang understood their frustration. But honestly, he only did this because their guild work was pathetic, and playing a quack was his only way to survive. Later on, Lizzie handed over the quest reward. Along with that guild refund, she gave it all to our hero. Now watch closely, because he was desperately broke and needed every single coin. The doctor tried returning the girl's knife, but she refused, pointing out he had broken his own. Lizzie explained that this special blade was forged from blue silver. The villagers forged it for her when she decided to become an adventurer. This surprised our hero, realizing the weapon held immense sentimental value. But the girl insisted it was simply an apology for kicking him out of the room earlier. Lizzie argued that the only thing that truly mattered was Rena's life. Hearing that, the doctor finally accepted her generous gift. He told her to stay safe, promising a small discount if she ever hired him again. With this reward, our hero had saved up 2 million gold, but he still needed 2 million more to buy that weapon and have enough cash to survive. Determined to get lucky, he spun the system roulette 5 times, but he was met with total disappointment. The rewards were completely trash. Just as he was about to lose his mind over the lack of gold, he unlocked a new skill called air. This allowed him to brew wind potions. Our main character was actually quite pleased with this upgrade. Ready to move on, Dr. Kang headed to a tent, where the person inside immediately recognized him. This was Le Fay, a herbalist who told the doctor he could take whatever he wanted. But she paused in surprise when our quack explained he was actually there to sell, not to buy. Seeing her intense curiosity, our hero was intrigued. Why was a merchant so eager to buy rather than sell? Without hesitating, he pulled out the dead leech and showed it to her. Instantly recognizing it as a black swamp leech, the woman asked if he had traveled to the dangerous Muka swamp. He calmly confirmed it. She noted that a damaged monster corpse usually would not fetch a high price. But then, something caught her eye. Dr. Kang asked what it was worth, expecting almost nothing. To his utter shock, Leffe offered to buy it on the spot for 3 million gold. Recalling Lizzie's words, the doctor joked that she had a weird obsession with bugs. She laughed it off, explaining this was a rare variant of the black swamp leech because its teeth were white instead of black. She explained that variants are rare anomalies among monsters. They are typically far more powerful and valuable than their standard counterparts. This made Dr. Kang assume that variants were basically on the level of rare monsters. But wait, it gets even better. She explained that unlike rare monsters where only the dropped relic has value, a variant's entire corpse can be used to craft a relic-class item. She pointed out that these variants are incredibly hard to find and study, which is why she was so desperate to get her hands on one. Seeing a great deal, the protagonist agreed to sell the leech, and the two sealed the partnership. Later that night, our hero marched right into the weapon shop. Exuding confidence, he slammed a massive bag of gold in front of the owner and demanded that 14 million gold crossbow. The shopkeeper stood there, completely stunned by how fast this guy gathered the funds. Our hero asked if the weapon was still available, and once confirmed, he officially became its new owner. With the crossbow secured, Sun Yun Kang was thrilled to have finally grabbed the exact item the system demanded. He expected some epic notification to pop up, but to his utter surprise, absolutely nothing happened. Not even when he got back to the inn. Realizing holding it was not enough, he stored the weapon into his inventory. Immediately, his jaw dropped as the system suddenly spoke to him. A bright system window flashed right in front of his face. The doctor could not believe his eyes. As the screen began to glitch, our hero figured the errors were linked to the new weapon, though he still could not read the full message. Frustration washed over him. After all the insane effort he put in to buy this crossbow, the system was acting up. He ordered the hidden entity to stop stalking him and show itself, wanting a real conversation. Right then, a completely new system window popped up in front of him. Spotting the black star icon, the healer realized this was the entity's signature mark. Finally, the system responded, agreeing to answer 5 specific questions from Sun Yun Kang. On the day they got summoned, many humans died while others survived. Those survivors immediately started arguing over whether they should adapt to this new world or find a way back home. One of them suggested using their powers to make a living, letting everyone go their separate ways to search for a path back to Earth if they still wanted to. Back in the present, our hero had to think fast. These 5 questions were his ultimate chance to finally figure out how to return home. He knew he had to choose his words wisely. The system's messages were getting shorter, proving that this direct communication was likely forbidden. So, our clever doctor asked the entity if it was the force that abducted them. His theory was spot on. The system replied with a simple yes, so the doctor quickly pushed for its identity and true ultimate goal. This was incredibly disappointing, as the system would only confirm or deny his questions. The system confirmed a way back existed, but nobody had ever successfully taken it. This shocked our protagonist, realizing even those rumored to have god-tier skills were still trapped here. He pulled out a notepad to document every detail, reasoning that the entity brought them here for a specific purpose, and clearly, nobody had managed to achieve that goal for it yet. So, Dr. Kang asked what it wanted from humanity. Looking closely at the status window's main tabs, he wrote down 2 distinct options, one for points and gear, and another for skills and pure power. He told the system to answer yes for the first choice, no for the second, or stay silent for 5 minutes if it was something else. He was stunned by the immediate response the entity wanted points or skills. Using his final question to play the same trick, the entity revealed that points were the top priority. Dr. Kang sighed in relief. Everything finally made sense. Rage boiled in his veins, realizing he had been kidnapped just to farm points for some unknown entity. But he calmed down, focusing his mind. As the human with the most knowledge, he was easily the best candidate to complete this mission. He did not care about its ultimate goals, but he absolutely needed to know its identity since it could help his family survive. Knowing he had already used his 5 questions, he boldly asked if it was a god of this continent. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see if it answers. Let's dive into this wild story where, out of nowhere, the system suddenly docks 52 points from him, draining everything until he has 0 left. Our hero is completely stunned, furiously swearing to track down and destroy this entity when suddenly, a massive 5,000-point quest pops up, offering a mysterious black star reward that immediately grabs Sun Kang's attention. This doctor had never seen a mission granting a rare black star skill before. After realizing the system snatched his points just to force this quest on him, it became clear that points are key to controlling this whole setup. Since the prompt warned him not to rush, he figured trying to communicate with this thing would be impossible for now. So, Dr. Kang decides to play along with the system for that sweet reward, even though his mind is absolutely flooded with creative insults for whatever entity is running things. But since it holds all the cards, he simply brands it the manager. The next morning, as the sun begins to rise, our main character quietly eats his breakfast inside the local inn. An exhausted Dr. Kang chows down on a rather questionable sandwich. At least he is thrilled about his new skill, free as crossbow, which summons a weapon he can transform into a neat little wrist bracelet. Our healer plans to thoroughly test the combat capabilities of this newly summoned weapon once they head out later. Suddenly, he is shocked to see a free roulette wheel added to his status bar, offering free spins that usually cost 50 points each. Naturally, the young doctor decides to try his luck. When the wheel finally stops spinning, he lands some epic loot including a solid damage boost, a free connection pouch skill, and a soul crystal designed to steadily increase his points. Our main character is glad the system gave him useful stats and skills instead of useless gold, even if they only apply to his weapon. That point-boosting crystal is a major win, and he hopes this luck continues. Right on cue, a completely exhausted Ho Jang stumbles in, and our doctor is relieved to see his buddy. Pay attention here. because things get crazy when Kang pulls a confused Hojang aside. Suddenly, a loud scream echoes through the inn as Hojang realizes they were basically kidnapped to farm points. Our hero confirms the unbelievable truth, and even though they are just pawns in this game, he actually sheds tears of joy knowing that a way back to Earth is real. As the doctor tries to calm him down, he explains that they will have to work incredibly hard to farm enough points, prompting Hojang to realize just how brutal this journey is. The doctor confirms it is a nightmare. Self-inflicted wounds or injuries they cause themselves do not grant any points. The system only rewards him for healing actual allies. Hojang finds this rule fascinating. Healing teammates is the ultimate golden ticket. Seizing the moment, our main character straight up asks his friend for backup. He desperately needs temporary allies who are also Earthlings and understand how the system works, and out of everyone, Hojang is the only one he can truly trust. After thinking it over for a brief moment, Hojang enthusiastically promises to help him out, a loyal response that doesn't surprise our healer one bit. But things quickly get weird when Hojang decides to take things to the extreme. He suddenly stabs his own hand, demanding the doctor heal him right away to secure those points. Dr. Kang quickly reminds his eager friend that self-harm tricks do not work on this system. With no other option, the duo decides to head out early and hunt monsters, putting Hojang's skills to use. The doctor explains they need to grab the absolute best quest. The guild receptionist starts to greet them, but freezes in shock, assuming Dr. Kang is here to steal more missions. He stands there, smiling, looking like a total predator ready to snatch someone else's job. A highly confused Hojang asks what is going on, but Cyan Kang simply tells him it is a very long story. Now look closely at the quest board with them. Our main character notices something highly unusual. Almost all of the high-paying jobs are centered around Mount Beld. Hojang chimes in, explaining the dark rumors about an insane surge of monsters nesting in that area. The guild receptionist suddenly pops up behind them, explaining that monsters always swarm the Beld mountain range during this season. She adds that the guild set up a convenient halfway camp for anyone brave enough to take on these extermination quests. Hearing this, our healer realizes the camp will be packed with injured fighters begging for medical aid, which means endless system points. He instantly accepts the quest, making the receptionist happy to see him acting like a normal adventurer for once. With their target locked, Cyan Kang and Hojang set off. Upon reaching the halfway camp, they are warmly greeted by a young guide named Varcello. Varcello explains that the camp rewards hunters based on their total monster kills. He warns them that while the western roads are relatively safe, the surrounding woods are crawling with deadly beasts, so going unprepared is suicide. While our doctor waits for injured clients to arrive, his eager friend decides to do some hunting. Suddenly, the ground begins to violently shake as a pack of iron moles bursts from below. Whipping out his new crossbow, the doctor laughs at how quickly they encountered enemies right outside the camp. He immediately loads up rock arrows crafted straight from his inventory to take down the wild beasts. Our healer is thrilled to find that the crossbow packs a massive punch and reloads automatically, but his celebration is cut short when another monster lunges from beneath the dirt. Hojang screams a warning, and just as his sharp claw is about to tear our doctor apart, his loyal buddy leaps in at the absolute last second to shield him from the blow. Telling his friend to keep fighting, the doctor decides to test something wild. He converts a healing potion into raw crossbow ammo and shoots Hojang right in the back, leaving his savior completely dumbfounded by the sudden friendly fire. But Dr. Kang calmly claims he was just conducting a quick experiment, highly irritating his partner. Still, the chaotic battle rages on with our doctor sniping while Hojang slashes away. When the dust settles, they are standing on an absolute mountain of dead monsters. Hojang is stunned by their massive haul of slain steel moles, while our healer realizes why the battle got so chaotic. As the camp officer counts up their incredible bounty, the surrounding crowd begins whispering about these mysterious, overpowered rookies who easily wiped out an entire horde of steel moles. But Hojang's victory high is instantly crushed when a random adventurer snidely remarks that they must be too broke to hire a real magic healer for those wounds. Over dinner, Hojang is still fumes, ranting about how outrageously blind these local adventurers are to his friend's true godlike medical skills. Seeing how relaxed the doctor is, he asks if it doesn't bother him. The doctor explains that wasting energy on ignorant fools is pointless, especially since he is busy keeping an eye on the clock. Hojang is left totally confused until the real action suddenly begins. Desperate screams for medical aid suddenly echo through the dark camp, signaling to our doctor that his target audience has arrived as dozens of bloodied warriors crawl back from the front line. Hojang smiles, thinking this is the perfect chance for his friend to start farming massive system points. However, the doctor calmly states these wounded fighters are not his targets, and before his buddy can even ask why, a bone-chilling scream echoes from the distance. The doctor grins, pointing out that his actual patients are waiting elsewhere. Suddenly, a tense, mysterious voice begs them to look at someone crying out in pure agony. And trust me, you and I will love this. Because Ho Jiang immediately recognizes this arrogant magic healer who mocked our doctor previously. Yet this guy now insists he can handle the dying patient alone. But looking at the critical state of the victim, our doctor has serious doubts, realizing the severe arm and shoulder trauma means standard magic healing is completely useless. Alright, you and I are about to dive into a wild medical mystery where our main character uses his observation skill, revealing a decaying, paralyzed arm bitten by a beast while a healer stops the bleeding. Ho Jiang asks Sun Yun Kang if he has found the root cause. The expert doctor explains that a savage beast attacked the man, and judging by the state of his arm, intense paralysis has already set in. Hearing this, the companion quickly deduces the culprit must be a mountain dog. But the other healer is skeptical, arguing that paralysis venom usually doesn't cause this much agony. Dr. Kang explains that the Belrod mountain dog carries a highly unusual venom. He cuts open the patient's sleeve to reveal the terrifying truth. The inside of the man's arm is completely rotten and decaying, shocking everyone in the room. Ho Jiang urgently asks for a cure. Instead of answering, our main character stands up, summons his weapon, and aims it directly at the patient, sending panic through the crowd as they try to hold him back. The doctor calmly tells his ally to keep everyone back, which he does instantly. In his mind, using a crossbow is the most efficient and direct way to shoot the healing serum into the patient's system. He quickly triggers his air elemental skill to brew a custom potion, loading it into his special pouch to forge a high-speed wind potion arrow. Everyone watches in pure terror as our hero fires 5 arrows straight into the injured victim, thinking he just finished him off. But as the wind potion starts taking effect, the dying adventurer suddenly looks incredibly healthy and full of life. The onlookers are completely speechless, seeing the guy fully healed after getting impaled by arrows. Dr. Kang explains he successfully purged the toxic venom, noting that these mountain dogs are extremely vulnerable to wind and air properties. Since the venom has the exact same elemental weakness, the toxic effect was naturally neutralized, though the wound is still bleeding heavily. This makes Ho Jiang realize the local healer is actually the culprit for sealing the rod inside. Dr. Kang sharply points out that this disaster could have been easily avoided if the healer had bothered to examine the wound first. Shame washes over the young healer as our protagonist casts a cold, mocking look his way. With the crowd whispering in agreement with the doctor, the embarrassed healer has no choice but to run away. After wrapping the freshly treated wound, our hero advises the incredibly grateful adventurer to let his arm rest for at least one full day. Ho Jiang mentions that something feels off, as a solo hunter shouldn't be wandering alone at night. The recovering adventurer agrees, admitting that surviving a night hunt without a party is suicide. Now, pay attention here because things are about to get incredibly dark. The protagonist asks about the team, and the young survivor begins shaking in pure terror, explaining how they got ambushed, leaving him as the sole survivor filled with deep regret. Our duo is absolutely stunned when the guy reveals that dozens of vicious Bell Mountain dogs ambush their entire group. Ho Jiang explains that ordinary packs never hunt in such massive numbers. This gets Dr. Kang thinking until he realizes a terrifying truth: a rare dungeon boss has finally shown its face. Late that night, as the duo ventures deep into the dark woods, Ho Jiang fears the worst for the other hunters. Dr. Kang tells him to stay hopeful, but then a strange noise echoes through the trees. Hearing faint shouting in the dark, our hero tells his friend to shine the lantern. Ho Jiang quickly swings the light around, exposing another hunter desperately fighting off a pack of rabid mountain dogs. Wasting no time, our hero crafts his trademark wind potion arrows and snipes the wild beasts. Dr. Kang rushes over to check on the heavily relieved adventurer, who offers his deepest thanks. But the relief is short-lived when Ho Jiang stumbles upon a sickening pile of corpses. While he stands there frozen in horror, the doctor realizes these victims were trapped inside the rare boss's territory. He notices the pile is a mix of fresh and rotting bodies of both humans and beasts. This baffles Ho Jiang, since these predators usually eat fresh meat immediately instead of hoarding corpses. Suddenly, our hero freezes as the terrifying reality hits him. There is a specific breed that craves rotten flesh, and right on cue, the monstrous, decaying Belrhoda mountain dog emerges from the shadows. This beast acts like a zombie, obsessed with decaying meat. It is a foul, undead creature, brought back by dark magic. The kind of abomination that holy priests absolutely despise. Let's pause for a second. You and I both know they're in deep trouble. The undead monster begins gathering its dark power, letting out a terrifying howl that sends its pack of hounds charging directly at our terrified adventurers. Ho Jiang leaps into action at the very last second, slicing down the lunging beasts to save the young hunter. But bad luck strikes as a sneaky beast. He misprepares to ambush him from the blind spot. The doctor yells for his friend to stay down, quickly loading a wind potion arrow and firing. Just as he tries to thank his savior, he gets repeatedly blasted by stinging wind potion arrows. Our hero casually explains it is a quick antidote vaccine, leaving his partner incredibly annoyed that he did not get a warning first. As the chaotic battle rages on, Ho Jang gets nipped by a stray dog and complains about how incredibly annoying these endless numbers are. But to their surprise, the healing injection takes effect instantly. While Ho Jang celebrates the amazing powers of the wind potion, the doctor remains highly suspicious, noticing the undead boss standing completely still during the fight. The moment Ho Jang strikes down the very last hound, our hero realizes they fell right into the undead monster's trap. Dr. Kang watches in utter disbelief as the rare boss channels dark magic to resurrect the fallen hounds. Neither of our fighters can believe they are facing a literal dog necromancer. While Ho Jang worries they will get overwhelmed, the doctor explains they just need to take out the summoner, but the sheer crowd is blocking his line of sight. He cannot get a clear shot at the boss. Ho Jang asks if a close-range strike would guarantee a kill, and the doctor nods. Hearing this, the brave fighter decides to charge ahead, making Dr. Kang highly anxious. The doctor remembers his friend isn't a mage, but actually possesses a rare class with a group aggro skill to lure all monsters to himself. Ho Jang warns him that his skill temporarily buffs the enemies, so as he runs for his life to distract the pack, he places all of his trust in his partner. Our hero deeply appreciates his friend's desperate sacrifice. With the horde distracted, his mission is simple: take down the undead boss. He recalls the herb dealer mentioning that a rare monster's strength always comes from a hidden artifact, and destroying that relic is the key to victory. Samyang Kang charges straight at the boss, activating his observational eye skill to pinpoint the location of the hidden relic. Using his throw skill, our hero aims for the beast's neck to expose the relic hidden inside its jaws. He whips out his crossbow, loading a wind potion arrow to deliver a devastating strike. But out of nowhere, a dog leaps and bites off his shooting arm. Dr. Kang realizes the boss's true body was cloaked, and now his severed hand and crossbow tumble to the forest floor. Furious that someone targeted its precious relic, the giant beast charges from his blind spot. Our hero spins around, only to see the massive jaws of the monster closing in to swallow him whole. Using the game system, he instantly stores his fallen crossbow and summons it directly into his remaining left hand. Before the undead can react, our hero fires a clean, fatal shot right between its eyes. With the boss dead, the dungeon begins to dissolve around them. Our hero uses his skills to stop his heavy bleeding while searching for his missing limb, relieved to see the young boy has already recovered it and wrapped it in a clean cloth. Dr. Kang offers his sincere thanks, but the boy insists he is the one who owes his life, offering to magically reattach and restore the doctor's severed hand. The young man introduces himself as Kato, a fellow healer, but our stubborn hero declines his treatment, choosing to patch himself up. And, trust me, you and I are definitely going to want to see how this crazy adventure continues. Alright, you and I are about to watch a brutal aftermath where survivors are begging for help among rotting corpses. Our hero immediately starts searching for his friend, only to find him buried under a pile of dead hounds, crying for rescue. Once dragged out, Ho Jang admits he genuinely thought his time was up. Yet, by some absolute miracle, both of them manage to survive. The tank even teases our hero about almost getting his head chopped off, but Dr. Se-Heon Kang just shrugs it off. He suggests heading back to base camp to treat their wounds, leaving his friend wondering how they will ever clear out this massive pile of dead bodies. To solve that problem, Se-Heon decides they will just call the Church of Iber back at their base camp. Next, the doctor aligns his severed right hand and uses a needle in his mouth to sew it back on. It is not a flawless job, but using his left hand allowed him to stitch it together lightning fast. And just like that, his hand is fully functional again, leaving the tank completely speechless. When asked why he rejected the other healer's help, Se-Heon bluntly reveals his deep hatred for working with fellow medical experts. Soon, word arrives that the church representatives have finally shown up. While his exhausted friends head to sleep, our quack doctor goes to greet them. The lead envoy introduces himself as Cardinal Ashelot from the local parish. Noticing how the man looks like a stereotypical holy priest, Se-Heon introduces himself. The surrounding crowd instantly gasps in terror because they finally realize this is the legendary and feared healer himself. Cardinal Ashelot quickly silences his followers and explains that Father Hearth, one of the most brilliant priests he knows, was the one who highly recommended the doctor. The arrogant blonde priest gets visibly irritated when Se-Heon casually asks about the old man. Shifting focus, he demands to be taken straight to the undead corpses. Meanwhile, poor Marcello is gagging from the horrifying sight and smell. The priest sighs, mentioning how tragic it is for such horror to ruin this beautiful landscape. He orders his squads to scout the area and transport the bodies, leaving the final team to burn the corrupted remains and cleanse the dark magic. With a massive incantation, the holy flames of purification erupt across the field. While Marcelo admires the stunning display, Sehyeon explains that undead must be completely incinerated so they don't rise again. But pay attention here, this is where a sudden shout from the side disrupts their conversation. The blonde cardinal asks to inspect the corpse of the rare beast, and our doctor has no objections. When shown the beast, Cardinal Ashalo looks totally disgusted by the foul dark magic radiating from it. Sehyeon watches with growing curiosity as the noble priest suddenly makes an unexpected request to keep the corpse. The priest claims the church wants to study the cause of its mutation and will pay handsomely. He offers a legendary treasure, the holy water of dawn, which leaves Marcelo with his jaw completely dropped in utter shock. He explains that this sacred liquid requires a full year of pure devotion and dawn prayers to create. Its immense divine energy can purify a whole army of undead with just a single drop, making it priceless. Marcelo whispers that this deal is too good to pass up. Initially, Sehyeon assumed he'd get absolutely nothing after smashing the dark relic. But now he can trade the corpse for a bottle of ultimate holy water, so he happily accepts. Cardinal Asholo then formally praises him on behalf of the church for taking down this beast completely alone. The holy knights bow deeply in gratitude. But while the doctor humbly accepts their praise, the priests privately gossip that he only fought the monster for a massive payout. Dr. Kang smiles, claiming he is just a fellow healer who despises filthy monsters. But the next morning, right at the crack of dawn, a loud scream echoes through the camp calling his name. Sehyeon wakes up completely furious. He angrily demands to know why Marcelo is ruining his sleep, only to hear that the powerful branch manager of the Adventurers Guild has personally arrived to see him. Soon, the arrogant Ruan Hersher claims he is incredibly proud of our hero for slaying the zombie hound. Dr. Kang plays along and pretends to be deeply honored by his presence, but secretly, he finds the man pathetic. Hersher is a greedy, skillless hack who relies entirely on his family prestige and has an awful reputation among adventurers, so yeah, you and I know he is definitely not here out of pride. The guy has an obvious ulterior motive. To show fake appreciation for protecting Hind Village, the manager presents a rare golden vitality mushroom extract. Marcelo is totally stunned, so Sehyeon has him explain why it's so special. The young man explains that normal vitality mushrooms make stamina potions, but this golden version is an extremely rare legendary find. Realizing it can permanently expand his maximum stamina pool, Sehyeon gets interested and instantly chugs the entire bottle, instantly boosting his physical limits. Just when the smug manager thinks he has successfully bought the doctor off, Sehyeon suddenly smashes the empty glass bottle right onto the floor. Dr. Kang calmly states that empty flattery is not the real reason for this visit. Exhausted and annoyed, he looks the manager dead in the eye and accuses him of hunting for his holy water. The manager smiles at his directness, admitting that such a divine relic cannot be bought with mere gold, which is why he wants to strike a deal with the Outworlder. Sehyeon is stunned to realize this greedy noble actually knows his secret of being from another dimension. Hersher smugly confirms his knowledge of the doctor's origins. Forcing himself to stay calm, the doctor wonders just how deep this man's intelligence network really goes. The manager sighs, acting sad that powerful Outworlders can never climb the guild ranks because of their mysterious pasts, pointing out how even a genius healer like Sehyeon can never get an official license. Sehyeon cold-facedly tells him to cut the nonsense. In response, the manager offers his influential family's official sponsorship and a certified healer's badge in exchange for the holy water from the church. The doctor immediately doubts this shady deal. But the corrupt manager laughs, boasting that his power places him far above standard guild rules. He promises that with his family's blessing, Sehyeon could easily rise to become a prestigious court healer. To him, this is a fair price for the holy water. In reality, the greedy noble just wants the legendary liquid so he can bribe his way out of this backwater village and secure a high-ranking position. But while the manager is daydreaming about how easily he can manipulate the system, Sehyeon makes up his mind and flatly rejects the offer, leaving the noble in absolute, staggering disbelief. Sweat begins to pour as the doctor repeats his rejection. Sehyeon explains that he is perfectly happy with his current life and mocks the desperate noble for trying such a pathetic bribe. Increasingly desperate, Ruan Hersher tries to offer the legendary, exclusive patronage of his noble house. Even Marcelo gasps as our genius doctor points out that the manager is actually the black sheep of his family, with zero real influence. This savage truth completely breaks the noble's sanity, and he starts screaming in a blind rage while Marcelo frantically tries to hold him back. Later on, Ho Jang is absolutely thrilled to receive an unexpected, top-tier reward out of nowhere. Se-hyun asks to see it, and the tank shows off a bloodthirsty bloodstone that massively boosts his offensive combat power. But behind the scenes, this is all Se-hyun's doing, since he secretly blackmailed the guild manager into giving his buddy this prize. The doctor tells his friend it is a fantastic reward, but before they can celebrate, a frantic alarm blares through the air. Monsters are attacking from 3 directions, and the guild is desperately calling on all local adventurers to defend the village. Instead of running, the brave hunters prepare to intercept the massive wave at the front lines to keep the town safe, and our dynamic duo wastes no time joining the battle. And just like that, the massive war begins. Trust me, you and I are going to love watching our hero blast them down with his magic. Alright, you and I are diving right back into the action where Ho Jang uses an item to trigger vampiric craving, boosting his attack power. He laughs at how easy these waves are compared to those undead mountain dogs, but our main character suddenly senses a massive threat looming behind them. A giant boss monster has appeared. The crew is determined to slay the last remaining enemy, but they quickly realize this fight is going to be a brutal struggle. Looking for a way to pierce the beast, the tank yells that standard rock arrows are completely useless, but our main character has a backup plan. He charges up a powerful steel mole claw arrow and fires it straight into the monster's neck, sending it into a state of absolute agony. With the armor shattered, our main character orders everyone to strike the open wound, while Ho Jang steps up to tear the opening even wider. He signals Sun and Kang. In a flash, our main character leaps high into the air right above the giant bear, striking down with his knife using his signature star skill. The monster takes a devastating critical hit, unleashing one final, desperate roar before crashing to the dirt in defeat. Victory is theirs. Afterwards, the local hunters cannot stop gossiping about the incredible feats of Ho Jang and Sun Kang during the battle. Our tank is absolutely glowing with pride, hearing all the praise, but then he notices his friend preparing to blow his 300 points on the camp roulette wheel. He even bets cash that all the rewards will be total garbage, but our main character still holds out hope. Unfortunately, after pulling nothing but trash prizes, he is left feeling incredibly disappointed. A representative from Southern Versals approaches them, expressing his deep gratitude for preventing a massive catastrophe today. However, before leaving, our heroes are left wondering about the future when someone asks if the camp is shutting down. Barcelo reassures them it is just a temporary closure while the church conducts an investigation. Still, our heroes and Ho Jang are pleasantly surprised when they are handed free glasses of raspberry mead as a thank you gift. The two of them sit back and enjoy their sweet drinks. Ho Jang sighs, saying it is exactly what he needed, while Kang teases him about being so easily pleased by a simple beverage. Now watch closely, because here is a strange detail. Our main character reveals all camp workers are locals, which is bizarre because they are usually hired from the outside. Right then, a newcomer spots our resident doctor from across the pub. Recognizing the face, our main character realizes he has just run into one of his former patients, a man named Luaker. A very confused tank asks if they actually know each other, so our doctor explains their past connection. Luaker quickly chimes in, expressing how incredibly grateful he still is for the treatment. Luaker takes this chance to finally settle an old medical tab that our doctor had completely forgotten about. Smiling, the doctor remembers the deal and hands the warrior back his precious weapon. Watching the guy practically weep with joy over a sword, Ho Jang thinks he is a total weirdo. After catching up on our hero's latest exploits, Luaker asks if they are currently taking a break between quests, which they both confirm. He then slides a party application form across the table, catching their interest. The swordsman explains that a new dungeon just opened nearby, and he's assembling a raid group for his cousin. The raid starts in 3 days, but Luaker cannot join because of his heavy debt, prompting our tank to lecture him on how stupid it is to borrow money from the guild. Eyeing the potential dungeon treasures, Dr. Kang asks Ho Jang if he is down to go, which he gladly accepts. The young swordsman is thrilled, relieved to have recruited someone he can actually trust. But then he remembers how much our main character loves watching people who mocked him crawl back and beg for help, making him instantly regret his excitement. Fast forward to raid day. Both heroes stand prepared. Our healer confidently announces he is ready to collect his cash, leaving the tank totally confused. But then, the memory of the roulette bet suddenly flashes in his mind. He realizes this quack doctor actually pulled an incredible skill called Freya Arrow Retrieval, which automatically spawns a used arrow back in his inventory at the dawn of the next day. The quack explains how he met the priestess they saved yesterday, claiming his unwavering faith in Nakame blessed him. Ho Jang cannot believe his ears, realizing this boosted Kang's luck and unlocked a powerful new skill. With everything set, they hit the road. Arriving at Hackett Hills, our heroes are greeted by Luker's cousin, a beautiful sword maiden named Tina. Let's pause for a second. Our hero introduces himself as a healer and calls his friend a washed-up tank, ignoring his gloomy face. The rest of the crew includes a fighter, a mage, and a priestess. The sorceress immediately eyes the tank, mocking his bizarre robe, but Hojang proudly snaps back that it is an extremely rare piece of gear. Right then, a rogue named Isle tells everyone to behave since the healer and tank are here to help. This mature attitude makes Hojang think the rogue is the leader, but a grumpy fighter snaps that he is the one in charge. Once everyone is ready, the party steps inside the dungeon. Opening his eyes, our main character finds himself in an ancient relic dungeon with his allies as the sorceress casts a light spell. The adventurers slowly venture deeper into the dark. Our sharp-eyed doctor observes that the stone walls are decaying, which normally only happens when exposed to heavy water or constant air. Examining the stone, he realizes it is completely dry and far too deep underground for air to cause this. This leads him to a dark theory this decay is being driven by dark magic. He recalls how the fighter claimed to have healing abilities. When our tank asks if he is some kind of therapist, the young man proudly states that he is actually a monk. The doctor realizes the priestess failed to detect any dark magic, but before he can think, a massive swarm of scarabs erupts from the walls. Disgusted, the mage instantly fires off a massive explosion spell. While the swordsman and tank hack away at the swarm, the bugs keep multiplying, grossing out the entire party. Suddenly, the monk spots a massive scarab charging directly at his face. He and the priestess are quickly overwhelmed by the endless wave. Realizing the danger, Isle yells for everyone to just push forward and break through the bugs. Our doctor asks the sorceress if she has any wind spells, which she does. Breaking a potion bottle to unleash a mist of enrollment, he quickly tells the girl to disperse it. She casts a powerful wind spell, blowing a refreshing breeze of enrollment through the dungeon. In seconds, every single insect drops dead. While the party leader is stunned by this clever combination, the sorceress begs our doctor to explain his secret spell, but he completely shuts her down. The rogue praises everyone for their teamwork, proposing they all have a drink to recover before moving any deeper. While the rest of the group is grateful, Kang is highly suspicious of this massive supply of expensive potions. He points out how costly these drinks must be, but the rogue insists a friendly pharmacist gave him a great deal. Taking a bottle, Dr. Kang is genuinely touched by the rogue's unexpected kindness. After walking for a while, the tank stops. The path ahead has split into several different tunnels. Suddenly, both the priestess and monk raise their guard. When questioned, the girl warns them that an incredibly oppressive dark magic is creeping out from the left path. While the rogue hesitates to think, the party leader insists they should just take the right path. However, someone strongly objects. Our doctor declares that they must head straight toward the dark magic. By choosing the left path, our hero is instantly chewed out by the fighter, who reminds him of that terrifying dark magic. Yet, the quack calmly replies that he is fully aware. This completely enrages the monk, who grabs Dr. Kang by the collar, screaming at him for picking a suicidal path. The tank and swordsman desperately step in to defuse the situation. Terrain is highly insulted as they regret teaming up with the debtor's friends. You and I will have to watch how this mess unfolds. Let us jump into a wild fantasy where a weak healer might just be the smartest guy in the dungeon. The priestess and the sorceress both feared the dark path, while the monk shoved our hero away, telling him to go alone. So, the leader, the mage, and the priestess headed down the right path. Our unbothered doctor, completely unhurt, turned to his patient's cousin and asked if she wanted to join the others on the safe route. Taputin explained that since her cousin introduced them, this healer had to know something. Hearing this, our main character was actually quite glad to see someone finally putting their trust in him. He then looked at the rogue who chose to stay behind. The rogue admitted he wanted to bet on this suspicious doctor. Meanwhile, the main group heading down the right path noticed something strange: absolutely zero monsters. As the monk kept bad-mouthing the doctor's skills, the sorceress could understand why Tina trusted him, but she simply could not figure out why the mysterious cloaked rogue stayed back. Suddenly, a bizarre noise echoed through the corridor, catching them off guard. Before they knew it, the three young adventurers realized they were standing directly inside a terrifying magic circle. The girl screamed for everyone to run, realizing it was a trap. She and the leader barely dodged the massive spikes bursting from the ground, but the poor priestess was not so lucky, screaming in pain as her leg was impaled. Sakita collapsed instantly, leaving her party in a total panic. The monk tried casting a healing spell, but it did absolutely nothing. They could only watch in terror as her agony grew worse by the second. The monk realized she was struck by a dark curse only a high-level priest could break. Right on cue, the doctor in his white coat showed up, smugly reminding the kids of his warning to go left. The leader was stunned to see this sketchy healer show up out of nowhere, demanding to know what was going on. He listened, as Sun Se Kang calmly explained that he simply waited for them. Having foreseen this disaster, Tina pointed out that this was a hidden trap circle. The monk, baffled by our hero's insights, finally realized that the dark magic was triggered by holy power, meaning this trap was designed specifically for priests. The angry leader demanded to know how this fake doctor predicted the future, but our hero waved it off. Pay attention here, because his next move changes everything. He furiously ordered the healer to save Sahita, since he already knew this would happen. But Dr. Kang refused. The monk boiled with rage as the doctor made it clear that this was the price of ignoring his warnings. But looking back at his teammates screaming in unbearable pain, the monk had no choice. He swallowed his massive pride, dropped to his knees, and begged the healer to save her life. Sun Kang was highly satisfied by this desperate plea. As our hero began treating her wounds, the worried tank asked him how he planned to handle the curse. Since none of them possessed holy power to fight the curse, the doctor decided to use items. He pulled out a flask of holy water. This blessed liquid was so incredibly potent that even a single drop would be more than enough to cleanse her body. While the holy water started working, the skeptical party members still questioned whether this odd healer could truly pull off a miracle and save their friend. The sorceress gasped when the rogue pointed out that curing her was impossible. With virtually zero holy power at his disposal, fighting a high-tier curse made the monk dread that she was a goner. Right on cue, our protagonist stepped forward. Everyone froze in absolute shock as Sahita appeared fully healed and resting peacefully on the tank's broad back. Astonished by his skills, the party leader apologized deeply for doubting our hero, while the quiet rogue watched from the shadows. Soon, the group moved down the left path, stopping right outside the massive boss chamber. Hojang muttered that it was incredibly suspicious to find 0 guards in such a high-level zone, but the girl quickly reminded him of Sahita's near-death experience. Reaching for the massive door, our hero warned his allies to stay sharp. As the gates swung open, a colossal demon greeted them, unleashing a heavy, suffocating wave of dark energy. The monk and the healer stared in shock at the towering boss of these ancient ruins. Standing before an entity of unknown power, the party felt completely crushed by its overwhelming malicious aura. Even with very low chances of survival, they braced themselves to fight. The demon laughed, mocking their sheer stupidity for walking straight into his chamber to die. He declared they should feel honored to sacrifice their lives. But you and I are about to see a hilarious twist, because before the boss could even finish introducing himself, he got shot. As his massive body dissolved into dust, the demon couldn't process what just happened. He couldn't comprehend how he was defeated instantly. Just like that, the final boss was down. The genius behind this was our doctor, who used his crossbow to fire a powerful holy water arrow. The rest of the party stood frozen, completely unable to process this absurdly fast victory. Hojin Kim actually yelled at Sun Kang, arguing that using your ultimate move at the very beginning of a boss fight made absolutely no logical sense. Ignoring him, Kang used his retrieval skill to reclaim the rare ammunition. He then casually reminded the angry leader that since the boss was dead, this entire dungeon would soon collapse. The sorceress offered to create an escape portal immediately, but the rogue suggested they loot the room first. He argued that keeping portals open wastes too much mana, which convinced her to wait. The leader urged everyone to hurry, setting a simple rule: whoever finds a treasure gets to keep it. The sorceress pointed out a massive, fresh bloodstain smeared across the dark altar, suggesting that the demon had sacrificed countless innocent lives right here. While Hojan Kim searched for valuables nearby, our hero suspected something was hidden underneath the altar. He pulled out a mysterious chest, but the moment he opened it, a blood-curdling scream echoed. The healer watched in shock as hordes of rotting undead began crawling out of dark summoning circles. Bracing for combat, the monk gathered his holy mana and punched them with his signature skill. The monk was annoyed when the tank praised his blunt fighting style, jokingly calling him a physical therapist. Meanwhile, the sorceress showed how it is done, blasting groups of zombies by destroying their heads with area of effect spells. Meanwhile, our doctor calmly took down the remaining monsters using his rock arrows. It made no sense for undead to attack after the boss was slain. Once the battle ended, our hero inspected the demon's corpse, shocked to find absolutely nothing on it. Right as he turned to report this to Ho Jong Kim, the warriors suddenly collapsed. Our hero looked around in sheer shock, realizing every single one of his teammates was passed out. He realized they were only asleep, not dead, meaning the easy boss he killed was definitely a decoy. Crafting a special stamina arrow, our hero kept his guard up, knowing the real boss was hiding among them. He let loose 3 quick projectiles. Suddenly, one of the targets sprang up and blocked the shot. While the other 2 arrows hit, our hero casually apologized for shooting, claiming those shots were actually helpful buffs aimed right at the rogue. While Isle acted completely shocked to see someone heal using arrows, our doctor smirked, explaining that he had just caught him red-handed in his own trap. The rogue claimed the doctor was crazy, arguing that blocking the arrow was just a quick reflex instinct for his agile class. He then deflected, asking why our hero was also wide awake while everyone else was knocked out cold. Our protagonist calmly revealed that he was the only person who did not drink the suspicious potions the rogue handed out earlier, leaving the traitor completely exposed. The traitor pulled a knife, leaped into the air, and clashed with our hero. But no ordinary rogue wields a blade dripping with dark magic. Trust me, you and I just found the true dungeon boss. Get ready, because you and I are about to see this dungeon run take a dark turn. When our hero calls out his suspicious ally, the apostle of the forgotten deity, Isle Crow finally reveals his true form as the ruined boss. This twist shocks our main character, who did not expect the rogue to be the actual mastermind. The boss sneers, admitting that he can no longer hide his lies, and mocks the quack doctor for being the first to see through his disguise. Desperate to offer our hero as a living sacrifice, like all his past victims, the fanatic stabs his own hand. He declares that everything he does is for the glory of the dark deity he worships. Hearing this makes our hero wonder at the villain's body count. Without warning, the boss plants his foot and launches himself forward at extreme speed. Daggers clash instantly as they trade blows in a flash. Our main character tries to gain the upper hand by firing rock arrows, but the rogue parries them with ease. Isle explains how he was just a regular rogue before his dark god chose him. He cackles that his deity will love this new sacrifice, just like the old party members he slaughtered. Hearing this insane rant, our hero realizes that talking is useless. This guy is far gone. Suddenly, the room fills with dread. Massive magic circles glow on the floor, and the villain tells our hero to accept his fate. The main character wonders if these circles were drawn with the boss's own blood. Trapped in the circle, our hero watches as giant, terrifying hands of blood erupt from the earth, reaching up to claim him as his sacrifice. Dark magic completely engulfs our hero, seemingly sealing his doom. But the villain is stunned when a brilliant light suddenly bursts from the center of the shadows. The sorcerer gapes as our hero walks out completely unharmed, praising the villain's knife skills with mocking ease. As the dark spell fades away, the main character notes just how shocking this entire turn of events is. Frustrated that his spell is failing, the madman desperately tries to launch another ritual to sacrifice our hero. But once again, his dark magic cannot even scratch him. Now watch closely. This is where the villain loses his mind. The dark god's power is completely useless against our main character, who cannot help but mock his failed faith. Our hero asks about the box hidden beneath the altar, wondering if the orb inside belongs to the boss. The cultist instantly panics upon realizing it is the sacred orb of Kirkto. The doctor realizes this divine artifact possesses godlike power, boosting magic defense and mana resistance. Though the box was locked by a dark magic seal, our hero remembers that his holy water arrow shattered that seal at the very start of the battle, leaving the treasure completely unprotected. This realization sends the cultist into a wild fury, screaming that his forgotten god will return. He charges Sunyang Kang in a blind rage, unleashing a relentless barrage of attacks. Fighting hard to survive, our hero marvels at how this fanatical rogue can strike with such insane speed. Noticing the villain's obsession with the orb, the doctor tosses it high into the air, daring him to catch it. Isle's eyes lock onto the flying artifact, exactly as our hero planned. Before the boss can grab it, the main character uses his mana thread to snatch it back. Securing the orb, our hero loads his crossbow with a rock arrow and fires, scoring a direct hit on the dark sorcerer's head. Enraged, the villain triggers a spell called Dark Thorns, catching our main character off guard. Our hero quickly realizes the thorns are a defensive shield meant to buy the villain time to recover. Activating his incision skill, he slices right through the barrier and charges straight at the boss. Snatching a piece of the cursed plant, our hero crafts a dark thorn arrow and fires it right back. Isle watches in utter disbelief as the devastating projectile strikes him head-on. The defeated boss collapses, weeping bitterly over the lost orb of his lord. Our hero is stunned, sighing over how obsessed the people of this world are with their religions. With his final breath, Isle mutters that a mysterious guardian protects our hero, suggesting that the main character might actually be that very entity. I know what you were thinking. Our main character, Sun Yong Kang, claims to be an atheist, but even he admits the god Kirkistel is terrifyingly powerful to bypass the system. As the boss collapses, he sneers that humans will always crave more power. The villain passes out, and our doctor coldly notes that he is nothing like that lunatic. Dr. Kang does not worship the system manager, but he has to work with it to survive. He heads over to revive his unconscious party, while ominous dark magic begins swirling around the dying villain. The party members slowly wake up, and Dr. Kang rushes to help them. Suddenly, the swordswoman lets out a blood-curdling scream as she spots the rogue's terrifying corpse. Our hero explains that their companion was actually the dungeon boss and that he saved their lives. Hearing the truth, the party struggles to believe their rogue ally was the monster. Watching the dark magic seep from his body, Hojong Kim asks how he saw through the sorcerer. The doctor explains that overly friendly people are never to be trusted, advising them to avoid anyone too polite. The party finds this hilariously ironic, since that description matches our hero perfectly, proving it takes one psychopath to know another. The doctor tells the sorceress to find the exit quickly. Meanwhile, Shurai marvels at our hero's wisdom, convinced he possesses immense holy power that easily rivals a high-ranking priest. Assuming he holds a high status in the church, she decides it is best not to anger him. She respectfully agrees to his demand, leaving our hero a bit amused. He then asks the priestess for a moment of her time. Our hero notes that seeing corpses is unfortunately a very common sight on this dangerous continent. However, leaving these victims to rot in the ruins feels completely wrong, even if they were once dungeon forces. The doctor points out that dungeon monsters look identical, meaning these unique bodies were innocents killed by Isle. The shy priestess agrees, stating that her sacred duty prevents her from abandoning these souls in such a dark place. Realizing the young priestess is too shy to ask directly, our hero steps in and offers their help. The priestess requests that everyone join her in prayer. She places the bodies inside a glowing circle of light and begins praying to Iber as the rest of the party prays for these poor souls to find peace. Suddenly, a system notification pops up for our hero. Sunyang Kang has successfully cleared a Rest in Peace achievement, triggered only by praying during a holy cleansing ritual. He is amazed to unlock the calming prayer skill from this achievement. Upon checking the notification, both party members realize they have received the exact same reward. To move the bodies into the circle respectfully, our hero asks for a magic shroud to cover them, and the swordswoman steps up to handle the task. She weaves her mana to create a beautiful, protective shroud, leaving everyone impressed. She tries to stay humble as the sorceress signals that they are finally ready to leave. Our hero suddenly shouts for her to run, but she is too confused. In a flash, a dagger pierces the sorceress, leaving her coughing up blood. Everyone watches in horror, knowing Isle should be dead. Though normal necromancy is impossible here, our hero realizes there is one terrifying way this could happen. This is the dark work of the god Kirkurishtel. The doctor orders the party to escape with the wounded sorceress, while he and the terrified priestess stay behind to hold off the resurrected monster. With that, the wounded villain lunges for a lethal strike, but our main character barely blocks it with his crossbow. Stick around, because this deadly game is only just beginning. Alright, you and I are diving into a moment where our heroes are completely overwhelmed, forcing the main character to beg a terrified priestess for help. Summoning her courage, she unleashes her Turn Undead skill. The missed strike enrages the dungeon beast, which instantly targets the frightened maiden first. But before it can reach her, our main character shuts it down with a swift crossbow counter. Our healer urges the girl to keep pushing, so she summons her remaining energy to strike the monster with Turn Undead again. This inflicts massive pain on Isle, prompting him to look up and make a grim, final decision. Ripping into his own chest, the dungeon monster tears out his core. He screams the name of his dark god, declaring that these adventurers will serve as his very last sacrifice. Our doctor panics as the madman shatters the boss core, triggering a massive collapse. Sunyang Kang screams at the party to run for the exit immediately as the ceiling begins to rain down on them. A twisted smile creeps onto the madman's face as he thinks of his dark deity, declaring his loyalty to the end. Seconds later, a massive boulder falls from above, crushing him instantly under the rubble. Meanwhile, the team scrambles toward the exit. The doctor frantically asks the monk about their mage. The leader confirms that she is fully recovered, but there is still a massive problem ahead. The young sorceress panics as her escape spell fails to activate. Our hero realizes they fell right into Isle's trap, as the sheer terror of this ordeal has completely shattered her magic control. Now the true, horrific meaning behind being called sacrifices is crystal clear. The monk is deeply frustrated, realizing they just lost the only mage capable of teleporting them out. Tears stream down the hopeless mage's face, especially with no escape scrolls left. But then our main character notices something crucial. He shows the terrified girl that the circle is fully drawn and only needs raw mana to activate. This proves that a sliver of hope still remains. When he turns to her, Tina immediately realizes exactly what he is planning. Knowing her magic is strong enough to recognize complex circles and weave defense shrouds, our hero knows Tina is actually a talented mage at heart, though she insists she cannot do it. A falling chunk of the crumbling wall nearly crushes her on the spot. Pay attention here. because our main character is completely out of time. He gives the Sword Maiden a brutal final choice. Either help them escape right now, or stay here and die. Despite her deep self-doubt, the young woman finally agrees, bringing instant relief to our doctor. The spell on the ground is a complex Trinity circle, requiring 2 active casters. Under normal circumstances, the sorceress would have easily cast a clone spell to fill both positions. But with her power completely drained, our hero pulls out a massive mana potion left by Isle. He drinks it down, combining the raw energy with a magic spray to fill the empty slot. With that final push, the ancient spell activates. As the entire cavern shudders, she prays for survival. The magic circle flares to life just a split second before a massive boulder crushes them. Suddenly, our main character opens his eyes. The party finds themselves in a completely unfamiliar land. Seeing the sorcerers crying tears of joy at returning home, the doctor quickly asks where they are. She explains they have landed in the Western Territories, right beside her own guild, the Crimson Magic Tower. Hearing this, the party quickly realizes they must have landed in the famous city of Kamar. Ho-Jang Kim is absolutely stunned, knowing Kamar is a legendary wealthy region built right above a massive lake. It is easily the safest zone around, making it a hotspot for powerful wizards and rich nobles. Rumor has it that obtaining rare spell books and secret research here is incredibly easy. Our hero looks around in wonder, realizing he has never visited a place this magnificent before. But right then, heavy footsteps approach the door. A group of robed figures enter, confused about who could have triggered the teleportation circle so late at night. The moment they open the heavy door, they freeze in absolute shock at her presence. Our doctor asks about their bizarre reaction, but before she can even speak, an angry figure storms into the room and smacks her right over the head with a heavy staff. The angry man screams at her for having the nerve to return. The rest of the party just watches awkwardly as other mages try to hold him back. After the chaos settles, they explain everything to the head of this sector, Tanthal Lurath. The manager immediately scolds the young girl, calling her out for fleeing the tower to become an adventurer just because her magic life here felt too boring. I know what you're thinking, but our hero stays humble as always, simply claiming he only did what had to be done. With that settled, the manager offers them rooms to rest for the night while his staff quietly disposes of the monster corpses. Later that night, our exhausted hero finds himself completely unable to sleep. Deciding a late-night walk might help, he wanders down the quiet corridor, only to stumble upon a familiar figure who definitely shouldn't be here. It is Tina, completely startled by his presence. She explains that returning to the magic tower fills her with nostalgia. Our main character guesses that she used to be a mage, which she quietly confirms. Tina apologizes for her foolish hesitation during the collapse, but our hero tells her not to blame herself, since it was her quick action that ultimately allowed everyone to escape alive. The grateful girl thanks him. She shares how her family pressured her to join the Golden Magic Tower after seeing her incredible magical potential when she was just a young child. Yet her heart always belonged to the sword, making her miss the sparring matches she had with her cousin. Tina admits her magic skills were never great, prompting our hero to ask if that was why she left. She nods, confessing her regret over not committing to magic, leaving her feeling weak as both a spellcaster and a swordsman. This makes our main character realize she has absolutely no confidence. Sun Young Kang admits that while he might not be an expert, he is not fluent in either discipline either. He firmly believes that in the end, you should simply do whatever makes you happy. He even suggests using self-manipulation to achieve her goals, which instantly sparks her interest. Our hero insists that one must use whatever means necessary to chase their dreams, deeply touching the young maiden. He asserts that you must strive for your dreams, even if the entire world labels you as a useless fraud. The very next morning, the party officially disbands. The tank agrees this is the cleanest way to part ways, with the priestess leaving to settle her affairs and the monk heading off to train. Turning to Tina, Ho-Jang Kim warmly invites her to tag along. With a bright smile, she happily declares her path to becoming a legendary magic swordswoman. Our main character is thrilled to see her determination to defy the critics who mock magic swordsmen as useless. He hands her a special letter addressed to Ihan Choi, telling her to seek out the location written inside. This man, a close friend of our hero, is a legendary magic swordsman living in the freezing north, where she can observe and learn from the very best. Overwhelmed with gratitude, the young lady thanks him from the bottom of her heart, promising to write letters as she departs. But just as our heroes turn to leave, the sorceress suddenly blocks their path. Moments later, in the sector head's office, the manager apologizes for their hectic schedule. Our hero claims he does not mind, but finds himself highly intrigued by the overly energetic man standing nearby. This man enthusiastically introduces himself as Sish, a professor from the Obsidian Magic Tower. The unusual name instantly grabs our team's attention, so he explains it is famously known as the Warlock's Tower. Our hero recalls that dark magic is actually legal with a permit. You and I just witnessed one hell of an ending. Pretty wild, right? Alright, you and I are jumping right back into the action where the Red Tower's professor reveals that the dark mage Sish returned just to grill our party about the warlock they recently clashed with. Sish was desperate to get his hands on the warlock's gear, offering to buy everything for his research. Dr. Kang had no intention of handing over the divine artifact, but then a specific memory suddenly flashed in his mind. Back when he smashed the warlock with his crossbow, the guy's dagger slipped out and landed right inside their magic circle. Since he actually kept this cursed blade, Dr. Kang pulled it out, completely shocking the dark mage. Sensing the terrifying, corrupt energy inside the weapon, Sish immediately dumped his entire bag onto the table, determined to study it right then and there. Sish was ready to bargain at all costs, but Dr. Kang realized most of the offered items were only useful to wizards. That was until a bizarre, funny-looking toy caught his attention. Dr. Kang wound it up, and it suddenly expanded and started belting out a song, making everyone super uncomfortable. Talk about an awkward vibe in the room. Blushing with embarrassment, Sish quickly shut off the noisy music box, explaining that the device converts ambient mana into raw physical stamina. Sure enough, Dr. Kang felt his own stamina bar instantly refill to 100%. To everyone's surprise, our healer traded the cursed dagger for the weird music box. Later on, Dr. Kang explained that Hojang Kim threw in some extra loot to ease his own conscience, though the tank just smiled and said selling them would make them rich. Dr. Kang unrolled a scroll that caught his eye, finding a recipe for a rare ice potion. This was exactly what the healer needed since his stock of medicinal mixtures and crafting ingredients was running low. Dr. Kang then suggested they extend their stay at the tower, which surprised Hojang Kim, until the healer explained that the tower's manager had already granted them permission. The professor offered this as a personal thank you for rescuing his beloved student. This gesture actually made Hojang Kim rethink his bias against wizards, who he usually saw as arrogant snobs looking down on everyone. Hojang Kim readily agreed, pointing out that magic towers are famous for selling completely unique treasures, while the healer joked that shopping was indeed their main objective all along. A bit later, while stocking up on stamina potions at the Red Magic Tower's apothecary, something unusual caught Dr. Kang's sharp eyes. Watching an active brew, our main character warned the young alchemist not to mix those specific herbs in. To the arrogant wizard, however, Dr. Kang just looked like a clueless adventurer with zero manners. Now, pay attention here because this is where things get wild. The alchemist completely ignored the warning, tossing the leaves in anyway. Dr. Kang immediately dragged Hojang Kim out of the store before the tank could even ask why. They only made it a few steps out the door before a massive explosion rocked the apothecary. As Hojang Kim stared in absolute disbelief, Dr. Kang calmly nodded, noting that was exactly why they left. The stunned tank could only watch in confusion as his healer friend suddenly sprinted right back into the burning building, where absolute chaos had broken out among the injured wizards. A panicked mage screamed at his partner to cast a mana shield to block the hazardous, billowing smoke, and the two quickly threw up a glowing barrier of defensive magic. But something went horribly wrong. The magic shield suddenly began to dissolve into thin air, leaving the helpless wizards screaming in total panic. They rushed for the exit, but Dr. Kang and his tank allies slammed the doors shut, blocking their escape. The healer coldly declared that nobody was leaving, reminding the young alchemist of his ignored warning. Dr. Kang told them that the incense herb itself is not deadly, but hearing that specific name sent shivers of pure shock through the young alchemist. He clarified that the smoke was not a poison, briefly relieving them, until he added that inhaling it completely melts the active mana inside their bodies, triggering an even bigger wave of terror. Right on cue, the young alchemist's stomach churned, and he alongside his fellow wizards began vomiting uncontrollably onto the floor. Let's pause for a second, because we both know how terrifying it is for a mage to suddenly lose their magic. They desperately scrambled for the exit, but Dr. Kang shot a few warning arrows, forcing them to freeze while he reminded them exactly where they were. The young alchemist froze in horror as Dr. Kang pointed out they were deep inside the Crimson Magic Tower, and letting this magical disaster leak outside would be a total catastrophe. These massive towers are dedicated to high-level research and training, housing countless sensitive facilities that rely completely on stable, active magic to function. Realizing that opening the door would ruin the entire tower's research facilities, the desperate wizards completely lost all hope of escaping. However, our brilliant healer offered them a lifeline, claiming there was a simple cure that would protect them from the smoke if they just drank it and waited. But when they begged him to brew it, Dr. Kang cold-bloodedly remarked that stopping the spread of the smoke was a much higher priority than saving their lives, sending a deep chill down their spines. Losing their mana was a fate worse than death for these prideful wizards. Swallowing his ego, the lead alchemist dropped to his knees, begging Dr. Kang for the antidote and promising that they would do absolutely anything to make this disaster go away. A wicked smile crossed our hero's face. Honestly, moments of total triumph like this made his healing career feel incredibly rewarding. Hojang Kim asked if they'd have to physically suck up all the smoke, noting they lacked the time for that, no matter how hilarious it would look. Fortunately, this disaster took place inside a fully stocked apothecary. Our doctor ordered the panicked wizards to gather specific herbs, handing each of them a detailed list. Within seconds, they brought him every single item he required. Since they could not touch the dangerous vapor directly, Dr. Kang came up with a brilliant, simple workaround to chemically alter the physical state of the smoke itself. Suddenly, Hojang Kim started feeling lightheaded, forcing our healer to work even faster since his ally was getting sick despite having almost no magic power. Pouring the mixture into a bottle, he sprayed it into the air to save his friend. As a bright purple mist blanketed the room, tiny hardened spheres started raining down from the ceiling. Dr. Kang explained that his potion instantly solidified the smoke into a heavy gel, before cheerfully ordering the wizards to sweep up the mess. When one wizard tried to complain, his friends instantly quieted him down, terrified of what the doctor might do. With the room swept and the antidote distributed, everyone was completely cured. Even though the smoke was gone, the apothecary was still a total wreck, prompting the head alchemist to bow and deeply apologize to him. Our doctor told them to save their apologies for the shop's owner once they finished cleaning up. Intrigued, the young wizard asked how Dr. Kang knew it was an incense herb, since he was positive he used an aroma herb. Dr. Kang explained that ordinary aroma herbs mutate under concentrated mana, shifting from a helpful brewing catalyst into a terrifying, mana-melting weed. The young wizard muttered that the magic tower had absolutely no reason to grow such a hazardous weed, explaining that all their ingredients come from a strictly monitored cultivation room, meaning an environmental anomaly was currently happening. Since the cultivation chamber was fully regulated by a high-tech mana system, our healer immediately demanded to know more about its operation. Moments later, he and his confused tank companion were sprinting through the tower's stone corridors. Dr. Kang explained they had to find the master immediately, as this issue was far more critical than they originally feared. The news of the disaster had already reached the professor. He wanted to help, but his melted mana made him useless. Well, you and I are about to see what happens next. All right, you and I are jumping right into a wild dungeon crisis. With the manager's green light, our trio enters the contaminated room. Kang Sang-ah is just glad they ran into Shiri first, who was looking to give them a quick tour of the tower. They step past the heavy doors and instantly freeze. The massive cultivation rune in the center of the room has warped into something completely wild, dark, and sinister. Sensing the danger, the doctor quickly summons his trusty crossbow. The situation is bad. Every single safety control on these magic circles has been completely shattered. Shiri warns them that the mana concentration here is way too high, pointing to a massive failure in the main circle. But as they start looking around for it, something in the shadows suddenly begins to writhe. Kang spots a sudden, lethal strike coming right at them. He reacts instantly, grabbing Hojang and shoving him out of the path of danger. The tank wonders what the heck just hit them, but the doctor points out the obvious: it is a mutated plant monster called Martin Ivy. Shiri immediately fires off her wind cutter spell to slice it down, but the slicing magic barely leaves a scratch. The furious plant lashes back instantly, but our shield-bearing tank jumps in at the absolute last second to keep the young sorceress safe. Hojang manages to hack off one of the vines, but something terrifying happens on the open wound. The beast sprouts a brand new tentacle in seconds, viciously whipping both the tank and the mage backwards. Even the quack doctor is impressed by this insane healing speed, immediately bombarding the beast with sharp rock arrows. The heavy barrage successfully shears off several massive vines. As the beast starts regenerating yet again, the tank complains about how ridiculously unfair this fight is. But our protagonist notices something strange: this monster's healing factor actually sped up after getting hit by that wind magic. That is when he realizes the awful truth: magic attacks are literally fertilizing this thing. This is a mana-eating plant, and firing spells at it only makes it stronger. Shiri tries throwing a fire spell, but the monster just absorbs it and swings right back. With magic completely useless, the tank panics and yells that they need to pull back before they all get wiped out. But our doctor calmly tells him that running is useless. Knowing he has just the tool to dissolve raw mana, the doctor shocks his team by crafting a special incense herb gale arrow and firing it straight down the monster's throat. Now, watch closely, because this is where the fight takes a wild turn. After swallowing the herb, the plant explodes in a massive cloud of mana-canceling smoke, leaving everyone magicless. But our doctor just smiles, swaps his crossbow for a sharp dagger, and decides to go old school. Gripping his dagger tight, he lunges forward, unleashing a relentless storm of slashes across the monster's body. The beast shrieks in pure agony as its insane regeneration completely grinds to a halt. Spotting his chance, the doctor shouts at Ho Jang to tear up the creature's roots. Ho Jang slams his weapon into the earth and pulls with everything he's got, amazed that the doctor can fight like this without mana. With a massive heave, he yanks the roots clean out of the dirt, yelling for Kang to finish the job. Leaping high into the air, our hero channels his raw strength into his blade and activates his ultimate slicing skill. In a single flash, the monster is cleaved clean in two, letting the exhausted team finally breathe a sigh of relief. With the threat cleared, the doctor has Shiri lead him straight to the main magic circle. But when they find it, the massive formation is in absolute ruins, leaving him wondering what could have caused this. Shiri explains that the circle must have overloaded, basically collapsing under the sheer pressure of its own runaway mana flow. I know what you're thinking, mission accomplished, right? Well, think again. The unstable circle begins to glow violently, turning right into a ticking magical time bomb right in front of our heroes. As Hojang starts to panic, the doctor urgently asks Shiri if there's any way to cut off the mana feed. Terrified, she tells him it is completely impossible. Normal mages cannot even see the flow of the circuits, and touching it wrong will trigger an instant explosion. She begs him to run as far away as possible, but the doctor knows fleeing is useless, since a blast this massive would easily tear right through the tower and vaporize the city outside. Stealing his resolve, he activates his observation skill to map the mana circuits. Locking his eyes on the core, he successfully traces the frantic flow of energy. His teammates watch in absolute horror as he walks right up to the pulsing, highly unstable magical circle. Knowing a normal physical strike would trigger a disaster, our doctor summons a special relic, the Orb of the Forgotten Divinity. This powerful artifact massively boosts his magic defense and mana resistance. Vicious arcs of magic lightning explode from the core, striking him repeatedly as his helpless allies watch on in sheer terror. Pushing past the agonizing pain, he aims straight for the main circuit joint. He grips the holy orb, braces his feet, and activates his throw skill for one final shot. The artifact hits the dead center of the magic circle, instantly cutting off the runaway energy flow. It safely absorbs the entire explosive surge before dropping harmlessly to the floor. Opening her eyes, Shiri is stunned to find the volatile mana completely gone. While she struggles to understand what just happened, our hero simply smiles, prompting his emotional teammates to tackle him in a giant hug. Kang silently thanks his trusty observation skill, which allowed him to perfectly analyze and utilize the divine orb's hidden power. Later on, the tower manager is deeply shaken by the report, realizing the core power system itself is flawed. His students warn him that if this keeps happening, the entire magic tower will collapse. Shuri begs him to let them investigate the core, knowing that if this tower falls, the barrier protecting the entire city will collapse with it. Unfortunately, the manager admits he doesn't have the authority to greenlight a core investigation. Facing a massive roadblock, our clever doctor asks if there is anyone else who holds that kind of power. The manager directs them to an elite deputy master named Sir Hib, but when the team secures a meeting, the stubborn old man demands to know why a lowly healer is bothering him. Our hero carefully lays out the dangerous situation at hand, but the moment he finishes, the smug master immediately assumes the doctor is just hunting for access to the core. Before Kang can even speak, the old man absolutely loses his mind. He screams at him for his insolence, boasting that the Mana Center uses the Magic Tower's peak technology and is so secure it would survive even if the rest of the building collapsed. Our hero is left completely speechless by how blindly the old man insists that their system is absolutely flawless. But the moment Shiri and Ho Jang try to bring up the horrifying monster in the cultivation room, the deputy master turns on the girl, accusing her of ruining their reputation after she dared to leave the tower. After banning them from the core, our doctor calmly looks him in the eye, coldly suggesting that he should probably start evacuating the building and fixing the issue before it's too late. The arrogant deputy master completely ignores the warning, claiming he has everything under control. Just like that, our three heroes find themselves tossed out of the office. This leaves Shiri and the tank incredibly frustrated. While the doctor notes the deputy's bizarre defensiveness, the young mage mutters about how much she absolutely despises other magicians. Hojang is surprised by her words, but our hero just smiles. He reveals that the old man's denial is completely pointless anyway, as his observation skill spotted a thick aura of impending death clinging to him. And that is where we leave things, with a panicked old man wondering how much our team knows. You and I are definitely going to want to see what happens next when this conspiracy unravels. Alright, you and I are about to dive into a crazy story where Sir Hyde completely ignored his duties because he was obsessed with the upcoming master ceremony, hiding a disaster just to protect his precious promotion. He planned to quietly fix everything later, but right then, the deputy master spotted a massive crack on the wall just before a blinding flash of light erupted. With a massive mana explosion, energy burst from every corner, causing the ceiling to collapse. When Sir Hyde finally woke up, he found himself pinned under heavy rubble and tried to blast his way out using magic. Instead, a sudden shock electrocuted him. His own magic was flowing backwards through his body, leaving him in agony as he desperately started screaming for help. He felt a wave of relief hearing footsteps nearby, but his jaw dropped when he heard a familiar voice. Sun Yun Kang had just arrived, casually offering the deputy master some much-needed advice. The stunned old man immediately swallowed his pride, apologizing and begging our hero to save him. Doctor. Kang figured the broken system was leaking raw mana everywhere, amused by how this arrogant fool was now shamelessly pleading for his life. Our hero was honestly disgusted by this coward who demanded to be saved before anyone else. To his absolute shock, Dr. Kang calmly told him this wasn't worth his time. The old man gritted his teeth as our hero subtly hinted that he might be open to a deal in exchange for his survival. In a panic, Sir Hyde claimed he had something that would definitely interest the quack doctor. He promised to hand over the key to the mana center if he got pulled out, arguing that stopping the core from collapsing was the only way to save everyone else. Our hero instantly saw through the lie, realizing this selfish bastard was trading everyone else's lives for his own. It was pathetic that a coward like him was actually running for Tower Master. So, Dr. Kang decided to drop a truth bomb, pointing out that the initial explosion had already blown the seal right off the mana center. The deputy master instantly spiraled into despair, realizing he had absolutely nothing left to trade. He frantically babbled about having something even better than the key, but the quack simply promised to bargain later. Now watch closely. Tears of pure disbelief rolled down his face as his only hope walked away to help the others, leaving Sir Hyde completely abandoned to blow up all by himself. Leaving the old coward behind, our hero headed out to get a better look at the crumbling tower, but sudden, desperate cries instantly caught his attention. To his surprise, two kids were trapped inside the falling building. He asked the little girl what was wrong, but she was crying so hysterically that he had to activate one of his special skills just to understand her. Our quack doctor was surprised to see his calming prayer mutate into a soothing voice skill that instantly eased a target's mind, guessing the change happened because he lacked holy power. Without hesitating, he used the mutated skill to soothe the panicked children, so they could finally tell him what happened. Moments later, he was cutting his way through the heavy debris blocking the door. Entering the room, he remembered what the kids said. The floor had exploded while they studied, and their friend Rigi created a shield to help them escape, before a massive bookshelf crushed her. Praying the little girl was still alive, he suddenly spotted her pinned flat on the floor beneath the heavy bookshelf. When he rushed over, the little girl weakly asked for his name, quickly guessing he was an adventurer after looking at his gear. Amazingly, she showed wisdom way beyond her years, begging him to leave her and go save her classmates instead. Seeing her horrific injuries, he realized just how incredibly selfless she was when it came to her friends. He couldn't help but compare this brave kid to that greedy deputy master while lifting the debris. But the girl suddenly screamed for him to stop, warning him that touching her would be dangerous. She was worried the reverse mana in her body would shock him. But as our hero reached out to touch her anyway, the poor girl started blaming herself for the danger. But to her absolute surprise, he was completely unfazed, instantly casting a skill to halt her bleeding even though he couldn't take away the pain just yet. You and I can probably guess why he smiled here. When the amazed Rigi asked how he could cast spells with reverse mana, he grinned and said it was because he is a quack, refusing to leave such a brilliant kid behind. Hoisting the injured girl onto his back, he dashed to get her out of the danger zone. Rigi warned him that the mana leaks were growing more violent, but our hero just told her to hold on tight and keep low. Dr. Kang and the kid were stuck on the 12th floor, but his escape plan required him to reach the 9th. Suddenly, he skidded to a halt, finding to his horror that the stairs had completely collapsed. Just when it seemed they were trapped, he spotted a massive hole blown in the outer wall and asked her if she was afraid of heights. The terrified little girl nervously asked if they really had to do this. He simply told her to close her eyes and trust him, promising the trembling kid that he would keep her completely safe. Without another word, Dr. Kang leaped right off the 12th floor. They escaped just a split second before the overloading mana circuit triggered a violent explosion. Now, our favorite quack doctor and his young student were plummeting through the open air. Looking down at the girl, he realized she was definitely no ordinary child. She remained wide awake and kept her emotions completely under control despite the terrifying fall. Losing a genius like her would be a tragic loss for the entire continent. Acting fast, he summoned his crossbow, combined his skills to craft a makeshift grappling arrow out of medical bandages, and fired it at the wall. With a sharp yank, The quick-thinking quack stopped their deadly freefall. He desperately started praying that his makeshift bandage rope would hold their combined weight. Though it began to tear slightly, the fabric proved tough enough to hold them both. He had literally engineered a rescue grapple using nothing but a bent metal rod and emergency bandages, an insane trick he never expected to use. Down on the safe ground, panicked mages argued about their next move. A grateful teacher thanked him for saving the girl, but our hero explained she still needed a real healer since he only patched her up temporarily. Rigi weakly asked if he was heading straight for the mana center next, knowing there were many injured people there who desperately needed his assistance. She handed him a crumpled sheet of her magic homework, doubtful it would be of any real use. But before he could inspect it, they were interrupted by her crying friends, Terrace and Lucy. The kids rushed over to check on their friend, who proudly told them how the cool adventurer saved her. Hearing this, Lucy and Terrace bawled their eyes out, feeling guilty for leaving her behind. Seeing them weep, even the mature young girl finally let her own tears fall. Our hero smiled, happy to see that despite her selfless bravery, she was still just a child at heart. With that settled, the healer set off toward the center. But when he arrived, everyone inside, including the heavy tank and the powerful sorceress, was lying completely unconscious on the cold floor. This sight deeply confused him, making him suspect the core mana system was behind this. Activating his observation skill, he realized the system was actively draining the life force of the mages, along with Hojan, Kim, and Sherry. Out of nowhere, the Crimson Tower manager warned him to stay back, shouting that the device had siphoned everyone's mana in an instant. He urged our hero that they had to escape before things got even more out of control. Suddenly, the core itself lunged directly toward our quack healer, attempting to siphon his energy as well, but he remained completely calm and unbothered. Shrugging off the energy drain, he declared that cheap tricks wouldn't work on him. Doctor Kang instantly loaded a heavy stone bolt into his crossbow and fired it straight at the core, but a magical mana shield blocked his strike. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next, because while the manager watched in horror, the entire mana system had officially mutated into a living monster. Alright, you and I are about to dive into one of the wildest monster battles yet. Our hero fires his incense gel arrows to melt the boss's crystal shield. He's celebrating his success, but his smile is about to get wiped instantly. Looking at the oozing mana circuit, he realizes the beast is actually drinking back its own spilled energy. The crystal starts glowing with an incredibly devastating charge, making our protagonist realize that he is about to face an absolute nightmare of a counterattack. Before he can even move, a massive mana bullet blasts straight into Sunny and Kang. The manager watches in pure terror, convinced that his friend was obliterated by that killer strike. But our hero is still standing, barely breathing, as he proudly reveals the glowing divine orb that he managed to summon just in time. He knows this legendary artifact is the only thing keeping them alive. If they do not stop the beast from feasting on mana, they are dead meat. Suddenly, a brand new shield wraps around the crystal. The professor yells that their special herbs are useless now, since the beast is literally rebuilding its physical body using the molten energy. But our healer has already seen this coming. As a heavy barrage of bullets rains down, he dashes forward, twisting and dodging through the storm before launching a counter-projectile right back at the monster. Both attacks collide mid-air, triggering a massive, blinding explosion that shakes the entire room. Seeing the spilled mana rain down, the professor panics as the creature's tentacles reach out to absorb it all back. It is growing stronger by the second, forcing him to desperately ask the healer for a plan. Now pay attention, because here is where our protagonist decides to go completely all out. Tossing his crossbow aside, he leaps high into the air, planning to smash the beast with the legendary Orb of the Forgotten Deity. He channels his magical energy, launching the legendary Kirka punch to shatter that annoying molten barrier. To the shocked professor, it looks like he is punching it barehanded. He rains down a flurry of strikes, but right before the final blow, the creature absorbs more spilled mana and sprouts two massive arms, completely catching our hero off guard. Our doctor barely slips away before those massive hands can crush him. While the manager watches in absolute awe, our hero realizes just how insanely stubborn this boss really is. The old professor simply cannot believe such a terrifying nightmare was created inside their own magic tower. The beast slams its massive fists down, sending a devastating shockwave across the room. Our hero realizes this near-dead monster is desperately trying to push him back to buy itself some time. While thinking of a way to finish this fight, he suddenly remembers the mysterious magic scroll given to him by the little girl. That is his secret weapon. Knowing the monster is starving for magic, he loads his crossbow with pure mana potion arrows. He fires them at the walls as bait, and the beast instantly stops its attack to chase after its favorite snack. The giant monster fell right into his clever trap. Suddenly, the glowing blue arrows turn into an ominous, dark color. Even the surrounding magic flow begins to turn dark. The confused beast tries to attack the weird reaction, leaving our hero totally impressed by the scroll's power. You and I both knew he had a trick up his sleeve, right? He fires a rock arrow packed with corrupting mana, piercing the beast's core crystal. The entire system explodes into pieces, marking his final hard-earned victory. Later, at a grand assembly, they discuss how the corrupted mana core caused this entire disaster. Master Roker steps forward to publicly thank our healer for saving the Crimson Magic Tower and the entire city. The Master offers to grant him any wish. Our healer happily asks for the legendary magic carpet used for deep meditation, completely catching the crowd of mages off guard. As the surrounding mages whisper about how incredibly valuable and rare that requested treasure is, the Master explains it is an heirloom passed down only to Tower members, making it off-limits to outsiders. But right as our hero feels disappointed, Roker uses his authority to officially declare our protagonist an honorary mage of the Crimson Magic Tower. He declares that even though he is not a wizard, he risked everything to save them, and they would be ungrateful fools to deny their savior this simple reward. Our protagonist is completely speechless. He went from being called a fake healer with zero skills to becoming an honorary mage who cannot even cast magic. The crowd cheers wildly as he accepts. He does not really mind the weird title, as long as it lets him keep helping people. Later, Hojin Kim flops down exhausted, mentioning how lucky he is to get his own private room. But our doctor grins, saying he does not plan on keeping it empty. He notes that it is perfect to use as their personal storage room, suggesting they sort out their inventories before they head out on their next journey. Opening his status screen, our hero checks his gains, having earned 6,841 points for helping the injured, plus an achievement reward. Looking at his main quest, he remembers the rogue's warning about greed, realizing how dangerous it is to meddle in divine affairs. After that, he decides to put this matter aside, since making big deals with the manager seems too risky right now. But his jaw drops when he unlocks a special achievement slot for owning 3 uncommon items. This new slot is incredibly useful, allowing him to easily gain the stat bonuses of 3 unequipped items directly through his status window. This is absolutely perfect for holding his annoying artifacts, saving him a lot of trouble. Next, he wonders if there is a hidden achievement tied to the Magic Tower. While he is busy checking his system, his friends ask if he plans on wearing the fancy robe the Magic Tower gifted him. He says it does not really suit a healer, preferring a clean white instead. But suddenly, a brilliant idea hits him. He pulls out his official crimson emblem and puts the robe on, marking his official status. And just like that, the system registers the hidden achievement, making him grin. After cleaning up, they dump some of their strange, modern Earth items onto the floor. Hojin gets confused when our hero looks at him strangely. The healer remembers the tank, claiming he was kidnapped from his own home while relaxing in his pajamas, which is totally true. Our doctor sighs, pointing out that Hojin was lucky to bring so many random items from Earth even if they seem useless. But the tank argues that his memory foam pillow is a lifesaver, keeping him comfortable no matter how tough things get. He even offers to let our hero smell its soothing lavender scent. Glancing at a weird photo, he decides it belongs in storage. A bit later, the mages wave goodbye as our group sets off on their journey to visit Kammer. The tank is amazed by how massive the city looks compared to their village, and the doctor explains it is because the ultra-rich live here. But when they try to rent a carriage, the station master tells them there are none left. This worries Hojin, who absolutely hates boats. Our hero asks if there is some kind of issue at the stable. The master shook his head, but suddenly they hear shouting nearby. A furious merchant is yelling at the guards, demanding to take his carriage across the bridge to Churin City. But the guards refuse, saying the bridge is blocked after the Crimson Tower incident. And that is where we leave things today, trust me. You won't want to miss what happens next. Alright, you and I are diving into a wild fight as our guy summons a massive path of ice with his staff, leaving the guards, the tank, and the healer completely stunned. Suddenly, the water erupts. Dozens of hideous fishmen surge to the surface. While the brave soldiers brace themselves for a brutal clash, the terrified civilians scramble for safety as fast as they can. Total chaos breaks out as humans and beasts collide. A monster bites down on a soldier, completely overpowering him. But a sudden volley of arrows rains down, piercing the beast in several spots. The guard watches in absolute awe. Our hero reloads his crossbow, sniping down more monsters in a flash before telling his ally to activate the vampiric craving buff and keep those beasts down. The massive creature gathers all of its power, shattering the ice bridge with one devastating strike and wiping out the remaining monsters. But the relief is short-lived. The veterans warn Hojang Kim that the real battle is only beginning, just as a guard notices his close comrade has been wounded. Though the soldier claims it is just a scratch, something terrifying happens. Fish scales start bursting through his skin, and as he screams in agony, our hero realizes he is mutating into a monster. The soldier watches in sheer horror as the infection spreads like wildfire, leaving the entire squad paralyzed with shock. The beast's blood forces infected humans to mutate into mindless fishmen who crave nothing but spreading the plague. One guard suggests using healing magic to purify the blood, but our hero shuts that down immediately. The guards instantly recognize this mysterious savior. He is the very same expert who just helped them slaughter the invading wave of water monsters. They frantically suggest amputating his arm, but the doctor explains that the virus moves far too fast for that. Hearing there is absolutely no cure. The poor soldier falls into deep despair. Unable to face becoming a monster, the young man draws his blade and presses it against his own neck, choosing a swift death over mutation. Everyone watches in sheer terror, but just as the blade is about to slice, our protagonist in the white coat grabs him and tells him to calm down. Now pay attention to this absolute madman because he promises to invent a cure himself if one does not exist. And right before everyone's eyes, our main character dives straight into the water. Saiyan Kang knows the cure requires a monster's liver. Since their bodies rot instantly on land, he has no choice but to hunt them down in the deep. Using a specialized potion, breathing underwater is no longer an issue. But looking at his 6,841 roulette points, he realizes his skills are useless for aquatic combat. He starts rolling the roulette, desperately praying for a decent skill. He wants to save his perfect accuracy shot for later, leaving him no choice but to redeem his Star Quest reward. He needs an immediate solution, but mid-thought, a sudden projectile barely misses his skull. He narrowly dodges, but the blast still grazes his shoulder. It was a high-pressure water cannon. He did not expect to run into a whole pack of these monsters. Lacking the time to swim closer, he charges his crossbow and fires a hook shot, tagging a beast. Saiyan Kang hauls the struggling creature in, executing it with a single, satisfying slash. Seeing their comrade get butchered, the remaining pack of ocean fiends rage and charge at him. But with a barrage of rapid-fire arrows, green blood clouds the water. Within seconds, he completely wipes out the entire squad of monsters. This easy win means he can save his powerful Black Star skill. However, the sheer number of enemies seems suspicious. He spins around, only to face a massive, rare boss monster. The rare beast loads its spear, unleashing a devastating underwater shockwave. You and I both know he is a tactical genius. He hooks a beast to use as a shield, realizing this rare monster's pride gathered the horde. But he is on a strict timer with only 5 minutes left on his wind potion. The boss blasts another water cannon, but our hero easily dodges, realizing this creature only possesses 2 basic, predictable attacks. He figures the beast is just stalling until his oxygen runs dry. To counter this, he aims his crossbow and shoots. The smug monster smirks, easily sidestepping the slow underwater projectile. But the trap was already set. The arrow grazed its skin, leaving the boss paralyzed in shock as its flesh began to violently burn from the toxic cure. The beast writhes in absolute agony. Our protagonist realizes the monster is furious that he used a deadly poison against it. It was actually a makeshift cure made from the monster's own liver. While not lethal to them, it causes unimaginable pain. Ready to finish this, our hero loads his crossbow and cashes in his Star Quest. Just like that, he unlocks a broken Black Star skill. This terrifying attack fires massive harpoons that blow holes straight through the boss. Activating his new harpoon arrow skill, Saiyan Kang demands the beast hand over its relic and drop dead. Meanwhile, on the surface, the guards in the tank grow anxious over how long he has been submerged. Suddenly, bubbles break the surface. Everyone sighs in relief as Saiyan Kang emerges, gasping for air. When asked if he is hurt, the dripping wet hero walks ashore, muttering that humans definitely do not belong underwater. The squad is thrilled to watch the horrifying scales quickly vanish. Everyone is amazed by this miracle cure, and the healed soldier swears he owes our hero his life. Our hero tells him to protect the city to settle the debt. But a panicked messenger suddenly arrives with terrible news from the other 2 gates. They can't believe their ears as the guard reveals the other gates are facing the exact same monster raid. Meanwhile, blood-curdling screams echo from the local infirmary. Inside, wounded soldiers are screaming in agony as their bodies start mutating. Our hero kicks the door open, loads his crossbow with cure-laced arrows, and shoots every single infected guard. The medicine works rapidly, but the tank notices that a few have already fully transformed. Sadly, the doctor points out that those ones are already far beyond saving. One fully mutated monster hurls his metal bed at them, which they quickly dodge. Ho Jae Kim rushes in with a slash, but the beast chomps down, shattering his steel blade instantly. Our hero unleashes his powerful new star skill to blow the beast away. But the tank notices two more monsters have cornered our defenseless doctor in a blind spot. With his sword shattered, the brave tank uses his own body as a human shield, taking a brutal bite. Quickly, Saiyan Kang slams the beast behind him and fires a harpoon arrow straight through the monster's skull. Finally, the last monster drops. Ho Jang Kim sighs, staring at his useless, shattered weapon. Saiyan Kang laughs, pointing out how recklessly he fights. He offers to heal him, but the tough tank waves it off, just as the captain arrives, devastated by the brutal scene. The doctor gently explains that while many were saved, others had turned completely and couldn't be rescued, leaving the captain filled with heavy grief for his fallen soldiers. Later, our hero tries to play it cool, as the grateful captain praises him for preventing a total disaster. But just as they begin discussing a reward, an angry crowd interrupts. Suddenly, greedy villagers demand the cure, but his skills reveal none of them are even hurt. What are they up to? Trust me, you and I cannot miss what happens next. Let's jump right back in as the citizens scream that they were at the attack too, and might get infected any second. They shamelessly shout that their lives are way more valuable than the soldiers, but since their ice road actually caused the southern gate attack, our main character can only smirk at their absolute lack of shame. So, he agrees to give them the mutation cure, making them extremely happy. The fake doctor says he has enough potions for everyone when they start fighting over who goes first. But to their absolute horror, he matches their greed by charging 400,000 gold for a single spoonful. Seeing their stunned faces, he hikes the price by another 100,000 gold before raising it again. In the end, Sammy Kang shamelessly demands 700,000 gold for one spoon. The angry crowd immediately explodes at the doctor, accusing him of profiting off the city's tragedy, and so his partner tries his best to calm them down. But the wealthy locals get greedy when our hero mentions that anyone showing actual symptoms gets a free dose. Suddenly, everyone shamelessly starts shouting that they are infected too. Some Kang claims he cannot tell the real symptoms from the fake ones. So, he reaches into his pocket, pulls out a vial, and says he will give the cure to anyone who drinks this fisherman blood. The captain watches in sheer awe as the doctor explains that since they will definitely mutate after drinking this green liquid, he will happily give them the cure then. The crowd is absolutely terrified as our main character cheerfully asks who wants to be the first to mutate. Now, they are seriously doubting if they will even get a cure, or if it even works. You are going to love this part. They immediately back away and run, pushing past each other while the captain stands amazed at how easily this doctor handles difficult clients. But Sun Yim Kang is still disappointed because he really wanted to leave the city today. He asks the captain if there are really no carriages leaving town. The captain confirms there are none, leaving their tank companion wondering what they should do next. Needing to restock his potions, our hero suggests staying the night. Ho Jang Kim wants to grab dinner first, but the doctor insists on appraising his relic first. His friend congratulates him on slaying that rare monster, though the healer complains it was weaker than a basic zombie. Moments later, they walk into the Ka relic appraisal shop. Right away, our hero can tell the shopkeeper greeting them is completely untrustworthy. Before our hero can even ask for an appraisal, the greedy shopkeeper's eyes go wide at the sight of this incredibly rare relic. The guy tries to play it cool during the appraisal, but our hero easily smells a scam. Just as the scammer claims the relic is worthless and the doctor prepares to beat him up, a mysterious lady suddenly walks in. The lady charges forward and punches the scammer for trying to trick another customer, locking him in a tight chokehold. She apologizes for his behavior and offers to appraise the relic herself. It turns out to be a Fitzamarine ear cuff that boosts stats underwater and grants the user the ability to see through the deep sea. The shopkeeper then congratulates the party on finding such a treasure, explaining how it heavily boosts their combat abilities. Hojin Kim asks Sun Yang Kang what an ear cuff actually is, so he explains that they are basically earrings that do not require any ear piercing. Instead of selling them, our hero decides to keep the earrings, knowing they will be incredibly useful for any future underwater battles, while the shopkeeper accepts her loss. He hands one ear cuff to the tank, explaining that wearing one is more than enough for underwater battles, while the touched Fojin Kim thinks his friend is just being deeply caring. Saiyan Kang is actually just tired of doing all the underwater fighting alone. Once the tank mentions that he needs to equip it first to use its power, now, you and I both know how rare these system features are. He is amazed to unlock a special achievement item slot, using it to equip both his Moonlight Totem and the new ear cuff. As the tank hands back the rare item used to unlock this awesome achievement, our healer suggests they keep helping each other like this. With that done, they head off to find lodging. Ho Jang Kim suggests heading back to the magic tower, but they quickly ditch the idea since returning so soon would be incredibly awkward. Suddenly, A stranger overhears their conversation and approaches them. Later that night, the female appraiser heads home only to be completely shocked. Sitting right there at her family dinner table are Sun Yang Kang and Ho Jang Kim. Confused, she demands to know why her customers are here, assuming her guard brother got fired. He angrily snaps back that he is just on a break. After the group comments on the siblings' resemblance, the mother explains that this man saved her son and will stay here until he leaves Kamar. Our doctor realizes this family is definitely not normal, given their deep military history. Turl Cattler explains that leaving their savior to sleep outside would be a massive disgrace, which completely shocks his sister Shale. Realizing this is the legendary hero everyone has been talking about, Shale introduces herself and warmly tells the doctor he can stay as long as he likes. Her brother is instantly triggered when she casually gives away his bedroom, forcing him to head back to the barracks. Sun Young Kang finds this hilarious, while Ho Jang Kim notes how close they really are. Deep into the night, our hero suddenly wakes up, checking the time. Suni Kang instantly senses that something feels extremely off. Spotting a strange, thick mist on the horizon, he notices it is concentrated in one specific area. Remembering the residence's watchtower, he decides to climb up to get a much better look. Sun Yang Kang quietly slips out and heads toward the tower. But suddenly, a cold blade is pressed right against his neck. Panic sets in as he has zero time to react before the mysterious attacker demands his name. Our doctor finds himself in a very dangerous spot, realizing this attacker must be incredibly hostile to jump straight to lethal threats. Just as he starts summoning his own weapon, the young guard rushes over to explain to his uncle that this is actually Sun Yan Kang. Our hero unsummons his weapon once the uncle realizes he is the one who saved his nephew. The older man immediately apologizes profusely for nearly hurting the person who rescued his beloved family member. But Dr. Kang quickly reassures Hikaru Cattler that he is not to blame, since he is just an outsider wandering his property. Hikaru explains that he watches the lake every morning, ignoring everyone who calls it useless because of the magic barriers. He wants to protect his home with his own strength, making our hero realize the true purpose of the watchtower. Using his appraisal skill, the doctor spots something odd, summons his crossbow, and tells the old man his watchtower is about to prove its worth. Sammy Kang fires his harpoon arrow skill directly into the thick mist. A small flash ignites, followed by a sudden, massive explosion that reveals the dark secret hiding within the fog. Both uncle and nephew watch in absolute shock as the smoke clears, revealing a massive invading force hiding in the mist. Just like that, the city is completely blindsided. And that's where we leave it with Cheryl telling them to prepare, and the old man grasping his blade to decapitate his first beast. Let's dive in. His niece and nephew leap right into action, slaughtering the beasts alongside him. Our tank watched in sheer disbelief as the entire Cattler household joined the fray, while the healer noted their proud military lineage and shiny new weapons. Armed with silver glory and golden glory, the healer and tank charged into the fray. The incoming tide of monsters was absolutely massive and relentless. But Ho Jang Kim charged ahead anyway, shredding them instantly while joking that fish belong in the sea. He was completely blown away by his new weapon, which literally tripled his damage. As the siblings warned that more beasts were swarming the shore, Sun Young Kang realized these monsters were buffed. Otherwise, they would have suffocated on land. Right then, he spotted sorcerers hovering over the water. The three fishermen mages were pulling the strings. Reacting fast, the healer activated his weapon's special skill, Silver Glory, channeling the power of the moonlight. Thanks to the moon's magic, the thrown blade instantly materialized back in his hand right after landing a devastating surprise strike on one of the mages. Sun Young Kang knew that taking out those sorcerers would force the beasts to retreat. Suddenly, the fishermen were cornered as the retired guard ordered a massive counterattack. Desperate, the remaining two mages combined their magic to cast a massive joint spell. Within seconds, a titanic Fitza crab rose from the ocean depths. Pay attention here, because while our heroes immediately started drooling over eating the massive crab, the local shopkeeper snapped them back to reality. The colossal beast crawled onto the sand, forcing the city defenders to charge before it destroyed everything. However, the tank's attacks barely even scratched its thick outer shell. Scanning the giant beast with his skills, our hero warned his ally that the crab was active shielding with a powerful defensive buff. The monster unleashed a devastating shockwave, forcing the hero to scream at everyone to find its weak spot. Trapped and unable to run, one guard suddenly noticed something. He desperately screamed for his sister to run, but the fierce shopkeeper yelled back that she would defend her city to the very end. But the beast swatted her away and lunged to impale her with its massive leg. Just as she closed her eyes, our heroes leaped in, completely shattering the limb. That's when they figured out its critical weakness. They ordered the entire Cattler family to focus fire on the legs. Fighting as one proud military unit, they charged the beast together. systematically shattering every single one of its limbs. With the remaining mages finally slain, the entire battlefield erupted in cheers of victory. The elderly guards stepped forward, deeply thanking our heroes for saving their home. A tired Sun Young Kang waved it off, but the old man insisted he was deeply indebted. Ho Jiang Kim muttered that they were still dead tired from lack of sleep. The family urged them to sleep before the massive crab feast they were all craving. Eager for the food, they passed out, and hours later, our hero finally woke up. He groggily asked the guard how long he'd been out, only to find out they had slept through the entire day. Having slept 25 hours straight, our hungry hero immediately demanded to know where that giant crab feast was. Later, glasses clinked in celebration. Music played as the shopkeeper urged our heroes to eat and drink their fill. They were the absolute stars of the night, and she praised the tank's incredible strength, giving his brute force all the credit for their victory. She explained that Khmer Glory weapons are elite gear given only to the finest soldiers once a year. Since they had plenty of spares, she let them keep them. But then the healer noticed something strange. A piece of the giant crab's shell suddenly started glowing. Intrigued, Sun Young Kang walked over to inspect it, discovering a rare accessory item called the fragment of the peerless crimson carapace. Prying it loose, his jaw dropped as the system identified it as a precious artifact. This high-tier loot only drops from slaying A-rank monsters or higher. You and I both know how rare that is. Our lucky healer actually unlocked a special achievement and a skill that boosts his treasure find rate. He quickly pocketed the fragment, figuring nobody would miss a single piece of shell. Just then, the retired guard approached him alongside the South Gate captain. When asked why they were here, the captain explained his commander sent him to formally invite our heroes to meet the Lord of Kamar, who wanted to personally thank them. Later, the tank and healer arrived at Kamar Castle, greeted warmly by the staff. While the old guard whispered about what a massive honor this invitation was, the tank quietly asked the healer what this ruler was actually like. Sun Young Kang replied that he was a highly respected, humble mage from the Crimson Tower who should be extremely powerful. But that word, should, made Ho Jiang Kim very curious. But before the doctor could elaborate, the Lord of Kamar burst into the room, took a deep breath, and began weeping hysterically over the monsters attacking his beloved city. The guard frantically tried to soothe their weeping lord, Gavin de Altagards. Ho Jiang Kim watched in total shock as the healer muttered that this guy was a massive crybaby. Sniffling, Gavin de Altagards lamented that relying solely on the Crimson Tower barrier was a mistake. But whenever he proposed training a standing defense force, everyone complained about the city budget. Our hero agreed that Kamar's guards were too few. So the ruler turned to Sir Cadillac, declaring his plan to form Kamar's first official night order, shocking the old guard. The old guard wept tears of joy upon hearing his family would train these new knights. Ho Jiang Kim congratulated him on this massive promotion, while Sir Cadillac choked out that this was a generational dream come true. Seeing the old guard receive such an incredible, prestigious promotion for his service, Sun Young Kang chimed in, suggesting he and Ho Jiang Kim deserved an equally valuable reward for slaying the monster. Gavin de Altagards chuckled, amused by how casually the healer was downplaying their role as the city's true saviors. So, the Lord offered them a mountain of gold and a high-ranking position in his household. But to his absolute shock, our healer flatly refused. While he appreciated the Lord's immense generosity, the healer had his sights set on something far more valuable and normally unobtainable. Dr. Kang explained that they hailed from Heim Village. Despite being small, the village was highly influential as a main hub for travelers and adventurers hunting the dangerous monsters nearby. Because of this, the Adventurers Guild set up shop there long ago. With the Church of Iber also trying to expand its influence in Heim, the Lord started grasping what the healer was hinting at regarding those two monopolizing factions. Thus, he decreed the creation of a Heim Village branch of the Magic Association. This exclusive guild would allow mages to trade magical goods and rent high-end lodging. Having a Magic Association branch in the village would break the monopoly, heavily weakening the other two powerful factions. The Lord began shaking, dreading the massive operational costs, but our clever healer quickly pointed out that the Crimson Tower would fund the entire thing. He confidently declared himself as their envoy. Exhaling deeply, the Lord of Kamar conceded and granted the request, leaving Ho Jiang Kim thoroughly impressed. Then, Dr. Kang cheerfully demanded massive travel funds and premium rations for their journey home. As the healer piled on even more ridiculous demands, the poor lord sat there speechless, utterly drowning in a sea of expensive requests for what sounded like a luxury vacation. He cut him off, snapping that the association was reward enough. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are diving into a wild story where they discuss Ho Jiang Kim's reward, though he insists he is not a mage. Gavin de Altegarts is completely stunned when our tank denies having anything to do with building the hind branch. This shock leaves the old guard frozen as the city ruler suddenly collapses right in front of him. Later, down at the port, our main character finally meets his guides. Saying goodbye to Kamar, the beast-skin children wave them off with warm smiles. Our hero starts a peaceful journey back home, but they cannot help but admire the stunning, crazy magic towers shining against the twilight sky. But soon enough, our hero, the tank, and their three guides end up trapped in a sudden, life-threatening disaster. Rewinding 60 minutes earlier, our hero maps out the plan to cross the lake, hit land at Tracy Village, and then navigate through the massive, shadowy red forest where outsiders easily get lost forever. He asks their guide, Valak, if he is native to Tradi. Valak nods, sharing that they traveled to the city only to find a cure for his sick daughter. He explains that his wife Daisy and daughter Rudy could not head home to their other kids because no ships were sailing. Stranded and broke, the city lord offered them a lifeline, guiding our heroes through the dangerous red forest for a very handsome reward. Surprisingly, the seasickness spell works like absolute magic, keeping Ho Jang Kim from feeling even a little dizzy. Soon after, our hero checks his status screen. This membership system boosts his stats depending on his factions. Alongside his Crimson Magic Tower status, both he and his buddy are now officially registered as founding members of the legendary Cattle Knightage. Even though they have zero military background, surviving those deadly, high-stakes battles officially earned them their knighthoods. He laughs off the fancy title because rule number 6 of his survival guide is to use every single tool available. Meanwhile, our favorite quack doctor unlocks a brand new star quest requiring 10,000 points. Thinking the goal is completely ridiculous, our hero seriously considers quitting the quest altogether. But right then, the crimson canopy of the red forest rises on the horizon. The eerie, unnatural color immediately creeps out. Ho Jang Kim. Our tank sighs in relief, celebrating that they haven't run into a single monster yet. Now, pay attention here, Seong Kang warns him that jinxing the trip is a terrible idea. Right on cue, vicious fish monsters leap from the water, attacking Valak and his family. Seeing the danger, our hero instantly lunges forward, slicing the beasts in half. The healer shouts for the guide to keep sailing no matter what. Suddenly, the terrified wife screams, pointing out an even bigger threat. As a massive caiman fish rises from the deep, our hero wastes no time summoning his trusty crossbow. He unleashes a barrage of heavy bolts. And just as the crew thinks the beast is retreating, the healer warns them that it is not running away. Suddenly, the entire boat violently shakes before the titanic fish slams beneath them, launching the ship and everyone on board high into the air. High in the sky, our terrified tank starts screaming his lungs out. They are falling straight into the monster's gaping mouth, but our hero quickly respects the beast's deadly intelligence. Loading a custom ice potion arrow into his crossbow, he fires a shot that instantly freezes the beast and the surrounding water solid. Ho Jin Kim watches in absolute disbelief as the giant fish freezes in place. Ordered to shatter the ice, the tank summons his Kamar's Golden Glory sword, blasting the frozen target with a lightning strike. The anxious parents check their daughter, who says she is unhurt but shivering cold. As the father questions if adventurer life is always this insane, the tank grows suspicious when the healer senses something is wrong. Young Kang points out that this species usually stays deep underwater, avoiding sunlight completely. Since it attacked during the daytime, our hero uses his observation skill to inspect the corpse. The analysis reveals a shocking truth: this frozen, skull-crushed caiman fish actually died 3 days ago. Realizing the monster was already a walking corpse, the hero decides to slice it wide open. Suddenly, a creepy, writhing organism bursts out of the carcass. Our hero explains to the baffled tank that this is a floral parasite. Mutated by high-level magic, this botanical nightmare was puppeteering the dead fish the entire time. Our hero is intrigued to learn from his interface that these parasitic vines will instantly wither once the main body is killed. But before he can act, the entire lake begins to violently thrash underneath them. As an absolute behemoth starts rising to the surface, the terrifying boss presence explains why they receive no victory achievements. Desperate, our hero turns to ask Ho Jang Kim for backup. But you and I both know his luck, right? The poor guy is completely paralyzed by seasickness. Seizing the moment, the boss whips its massive tentacles forward, snatching up the helpless family of 3. Reacting instantly, our hero aims his crossbow, firing a sharp harpoon arrow to cleanly slice through the thick tentacles, squeezing the guide and his wife. But our hero curses as the little girl remains trapped in the monster's grip, slowly being dragged down into the freezing depths. Watching this, Ho Jang Kim is struck by a memory of his own young daughter, leaving him completely horrified. Overcome with protective rage, he lunges at the beast, desperately tearing at the massive tentacles to free the sick little girl. But in a flash, both of them are pulled deep underwater. The healer stands stunned while the parents watch in absolute horror as their precious little girl is dragged into the abyss. Hysterical with grief, the mother tries to throw herself into the lake to save her. But her husband restrains her while our doctor activates his calming voice skill to immediately soothe her blind panic. Promising them he will bring Rudy back safely, our hero dives in. He knows that if he does not act right now, both Hojin Kim and the little girl will drown in the dark depths. Underwater, the tank is completely overwhelmed as the relentless tentacles keep growing back no matter how many times he chops them off. Alone, he could have escaped easily, but protecting the fragile child makes this fight nearly impossible. Just as his lungs scream for air, a bright light pierces the dark water from above. In an instant, a magic wind potion arrow wraps both him and Rudy in a safe pocket of oxygen. Swimming at full speed, Dr. Kang reaches the pair, slicing through the constricting tentacles with ease and pulling the tank and the girl out of the monster's deadly grip. Ho Jang Kim is overjoyed to see Sunyam Kang arrive to save the day. Slicing through more incoming limbs, the quack jokes that he will always have his back. Surrounded by green blood, Ho Jang Kim quickly warns him about the creature's crazy regeneration speed. But as ice begins rapidly crawling over the monster's severed stump, our grinning quack tells his stunned friend that this new weapon of his is far from ordinary. Sunyam Kang got incredibly lucky, crafting an ice dagger right on the spot. Doing so unlocked a rare, secret achievement called Miracle Die, which automatically imbues the crafted weapon with powerful, random enchantments. Clad in white, the healer urges his friend to swim to safety with the girl while he handles the beast. The random enchantment grants two unique effects, the first being Freeze, which activates as Kang shears off another massive tentacle. The furious beast grabs a massive boulder and hurls it, forcing our hero to respect its tactical thinking. Swiftly aiming his crossbow, he loads another ice potion arrow and fires directly at the oncoming rock. As the boulder freezes solid mid-air, our hero remembers his second weapon enchantment, which quadruples all damage dealt to frozen targets. But suddenly, a massive shadow looms in the deep water. The gargantuan sequoia squid housing the master parasite pulling all the strings has finally arrived. Though our hero is thrilled to face the real boss, the squid wastes no time, blasting a destructive shockwave straight at him. The skilled doctor recognizes the spell instantly. Suddenly, countless smaller squids swarm the host. Sunyam Kang realizes this parasitic plant is using them as shields to let the main body escape. Trust me, you and I cannot miss what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right into the action as a glowing arrow shoots towards the escaping beast, lighting up everything. Our healer fires his special Water of Dawn arrow. Knowing these parasite-controlled vessels are just puppets, still driven entirely by basic instincts. The squids get completely hypnotized by the glow, unable to resist drawing closer to the light while the parasite panics. With the monster dazed and right in range, our protagonist aims a perfect potion arrow straight at it. The main character bids it a cold farewell, slicing the desperate parasite clean in half before it can slip away. After grabbing his holy arrow and preparing to swim back up, a sudden system notification blares. He just scored a massive heap of unexpected points, which makes zero sense because standard monster hunting never yields rewards like this. But looking at the dissolving remains of the parasite, he realizes killing the beast actually freed the squids from their endless suffering. This heroic act unlocks a flood of achievements, making the journey totally worth it. A few months later, he finally resurfaces for some fresh air. Suni Kang tries asking Ho Jang Kim about their guides, but quickly gives up after seeing his friend is still hopelessly seasick. Once they hit the shore, the red-haired family rushes to the doctor. Dr. Kang grows deeply worried looking at the little girl's critical state, fearing he might be too late to save her as her terrified parents beg for answers. He diagnoses her with severe hypothermia, telling them to strip her wet clothes and wrap her tightly in blankets to raise her temperature while he quickly builds a warm fire. Right on cue, the tank points to the sky. Dr. Kang groans as heavy dark clouds threaten to dump pouring rain, forcing him to ask the guide how far the nearest village is. Watch closely here, because the guide says the fastest path takes way too long, meaning our heroes must head deep into the woods to find temporary shelter before the storm hits. Moving through the thick trees, our protagonist takes note of their strange red color and the eerie name of this forest. Hungjin Kim points out that absolutely everything here is red, and the guide reveals that even the local monsters and people share this trait, meaning everyone in their village is ginger. She warns them to stick together because outsiders get hopelessly lost, prompting the tank to assume the trails must be an absolute maze. But she explains it is not about the trails, pointing out how useless the road signs pointing towards Tracy actually are, and how powerful mages blame this weird layout on the forest's strange magic. Suddenly, our healer tenses up, summoning his weapon and telling everyone to freeze, leaving them completely baffled. Our healer points his knife at the rustling bushes, demanding the stalker step out. Realizing they are busted, a man emerges from the hiding spot, followed closely by a young girl. Hojin Kim is totally confused when the guy proudly introduces themselves as the Red Road Gang. He explains they are local forest bandits, and you must have red hair to join them, though they ironically attack fellow gingers now. The bandit adds that outsiders can only join if they dye their hair red, making our tank realize this is basically just an exclusive ginger club. When our healer guesses they want to kidnap him to treat someone wounded, the bandits snap and demand he shut up and obey. Our protagonist wants to wrap this up fast since they need to escape the rain, and suddenly, a brilliant plan hits him. He explains the little girl's critical condition, then stuns the bandits by casually declaring that his group is taking over their base for the night. Ignoring the bandits' fury, he simply points to the worsening storm. Meanwhile, Hojin Kim moves the family to safety before this bizarre fight kicks off. And yeah, I know what you were thinking. Dr. Kang tells them they will pay for shelter by not turning them in, completely enraging the bandits, who instantly charge at him. Our healer easily dodges the girl's flying knives, hitting her with his hilt, then casually sidesteps the boy's thrust to land a powerful blow straight to his chest. Completely outmatched, the bandits assume his strength comes from active skills and decide to use a secret trump card. Tearing open a magic scroll, glowing chains erupt from a magic circle, wrapping tightly around our protagonist. He instantly recognizes them as mana-corrupting binds. Thinking the doctor is now completely powerless without magic, the bandit boy rushes in for the kill. But to their absolute horror, our magicless hero effortlessly shatters the chains, landing a brutal punch right to the bandit's face to knock him out cold. Stamian Kang slowly turns to the terrified girl, showing off his fist while cracking a very gentle smile. After a brief and painful beatdown, the defeated bandits agree to lead them to their base. Minutes later, the entire party stands right in front of the hidden entrance. Once they break the seal, a massive boulder slides aside to reveal a hidden tunnel. Stepping inside, the healer is shocked to find dozens of bandits collapse on the ground, groaning in pure agony. Looking at their miserable state, he finally understands why this gang was so desperate to kidnap a healer. The young bandit explains that everyone suddenly fell ill with terrible pain, hoping a healer could cure them. Just then, a deep voice from the shadows demands to know who he is, revealing himself as Rosen, the leader in charge. But looking at him, our protagonist is highly intrigued. Noticing the leader's sketchy look, Hojin Kim grips his shovel just in case. When the boss demands to know why there are so many outsiders, the girl desperately stammers out an excuse, way too embarrassed to admit they got completely beaten and forced to show their hideout. But Sunny Kang bluntly explains the whole truth, making the girl fume with rage. Since they are wanted criminals, one bandit protests their stay, but the doctor reassures them he will keep their secret, offering his healing skills to cure those suffering. Dr. Kang formally offers a clear trade, promising to cure his crew if they give them shelter from the storm. Whispering quietly, the bandit leader admits they must be incredibly strong to break in like this. With a trembling voice, he accepts the deal, begging them not to trash the place. Observing this weak display, our hero realizes this guy is definitely not the actual boss, making him wonder where the real chief is. While little Rudy is tucked warmly by the fire, our healer examines one of the groaning patients, finding no physical wounds or illness. Activating his observation skill, he discovers she is suffering from severe mental trauma known as phantom pain, which could trigger permanent brain damage. Sammy Kang then turns to Hojin Kim to explain that the patient is suffering from phantom pain. While this term means feeling pain from a missing limb back on Earth, in this fantasy world, it refers to severe agony without any physical injury. He warns that while phantom pain is not directly lethal, the agonizing stress will slowly rot their minds as it worsens over time. Because of how notoriously difficult this condition is to cure, the bandit leader instantly begins losing all hope. So, Sunny Kang explains that they must treat the root cause of this mental agony, meaning they will need potent mentality and tranquility potions to cure this severe mental drain. But right as the healer explains how to brew the potions and lists the rare ingredients he needs, his buddy points to a shelf overflowing with herbs that fit the bill perfectly. Stunned to find everything ready, he realizes these plants were gathered right from the surrounding forest. Checking the herbs closely, our healer notes he will need every single one to craft the cure. He asks Rosen for healthy men, who says 16 are ready. Trust me, you and I must see what happens next. Stick with me here because our smug healer is about to send a whole bandit crew to do his dirty work. He orders them into the dangerous red forest for herbs, Lorraine is outside being terrifying, but inside, these two young bandits are absolutely losing it at our protagonist for bossing them around. Hearing their whining, Sunang just flashes his trademark annoyed smirk. Minutes later, the red-haired bandits are thoroughly thrashed and left harvesting herbs outside in the pouring rain. When they ask how he knows so much, the doctor confidently explains his expertise, citing years of tracking patient records and gathering data. His friend praises him, but the doctor immediately demands the bottle the tank is holding. It slips and rolls away, prompting our healer to mock the big guy for having shaky hands like an old man, annoying him. Just as he goes to grab the rolling bottle, Ho Jang Kim spots something highly unusual on the ground and quickly brings it over to the protagonist. The hero identifies it as a scarab, triggering the tank's memory of their previous brutal run inside a ruined dungeon crawling with these disgusting bugs. Seeing so many bugs, Ho Jang Kim thinks someone is harvesting them, but our healer notes they are far too advanced for that. Using his observational skill, he discovers it is a hibernating tabular scarab waiting for the perfect trigger to wake up. The moment Sam Kang reveals the bug is actually alive, the freaked-out tank tosses it away. The doctor gets suspicious. Why are so many scarabs scattered here, clearly not being harvested? Hojin Kim gets a bad feeling and instantly panics when his friend suddenly tells him to start digging up the floor. In no time, the tank is totally repulsed as piles of bugs are unearthed, demanding an explanation. Our healer's dark suspicions are confirmed, warning him that this entire cave is likely packed with these creatures. Now, watch closely. As the rain pours outside, our hero decides it is time to have a serious talk with the bandit boss. Using the freshly gathered herbs, the healer brews the antidote and instructs Rosant to ensure everyone takes it. Overwhelmed with gratitude, the bandit leader whispers a sincere apology, admitting he was dead wrong to ever doubt our hero's medical genius. Shocked but relieved to hear about the healing potions, the two young bandits promise to deliver the antidote to their suffering allies without delay. They vow to do whatever it takes to save their comrades. The doctor dryly notes that even scum look out for each other, prompting the boss to explain that his crew is a tight-knit family. But the warm moment fades. The boss grows anxious as the hero explains that phantom pain is incredibly rare, usually occurring only in the continent's most lethal territories. We are talking heavily contaminated zones and brutal high-ranked dungeons. Fear grips Rosen's face as our doctor points out how impossible it is for this curse to plague a simple bandit camp. Sunyum Kang accuses the leader of hiding something. Seeming Kang adds that nothing adds up, especially since these money-obsessed thieves casually used an incredibly expensive mana contamination spell. Why would greedy bandits waste a small fortune like that? But as Rosa desperately tries to make an excuse, the hero gestures to the dry sandstone walls. He points out that while the entire forest is soft, wet, and red, this cave is completely dry and out of place. With his theory proven, he demands the thief's true identity. Realizing he is cornered, the boss agrees to explain everything, begging the heroes to save them afterward. While the tank is curious, our healer coldly states he will only make that decision once he hears the whole truth. All right, I know what you're thinking, but get this. 3 months ago, this empty cave suddenly appeared out of nowhere, packed with insane treasures and alien monsters. The revelation leaves our heroes stunned. The bandit leader confirms their growing suspicion, admitting that this cave is actually a full-blown dungeon. Rose explains that this is a transfer dungeon. The name rings a bell for our doctor, who remembers these ultra-rare anomalies that shift entire physical structures from another dimension directly into this world, bypassing normal portals. An entire dungeon literally transplanted from another realm onto their continent. The doctor is speechless, knowing it has been lifetimes since such a rare phenomenon occurred. This explains where they got that high-tier mana contamination scroll. The boss nods, confessing how thrilled they were to stumble upon such powerful loot. But their luck ran out when their youngest thief found an even more dangerous scroll. The young girl crossed paths with a powerful city mage. Instead of running, she seized the chance and unleashed the mana contamination scroll, sending sheer terror through the prestigious spellcasters. Just like that, the humble thieves of Tradi completely overpowered the elite wizards of Kiar. Stripping the mages of their magic ignited a dark, dangerous greed within the bandits. Rosen recalls how they celebrated defeating their hated rivals, but that victory only fueled their hunger for even more powerful artifacts buried deep within the cave. The leader reveals that the girl uncovered a sleeping power deep inside the cavern. Awakening it would not only neutralize the mages forever, but grant them absolute control over the city, shocking our heroes. Panicking, Rosen explains that his brainwashed men are planning a full-scale assault on Kar. Begging for help, the desperate chief implores our duo to step in and stop his crew. He looks at the healer, waiting for his choice. So Kang admits that while he can't stand mages, he won't let the city he just saved be destroyed, remembering the friends he left behind there. With his mind made up, our protagonist demands to know where the ringleader is hiding. Moments later, the tank is scanning the dark tunnels for the hidden chamber. Their mission is simple: eliminate the rogue leaders. The hero smiles and points to his eyes, activating his observational skill to trace the hidden mana circle, marking the entrance to the secret room. Once the exact spot is marked, the tank immediately begins digging through the stone wall using his shovel. To the tank's horror, even more scarabs are nesting inside the shattered rocks, though the hero expected this. However, despite finding the magic circle, Ho Jong Kim has no clue how to activate it. To bypass it, our protagonist summons a powerful divine relic with high mana resistance. Inside the hidden chamber, the rogue bandits pause as the stone walls suddenly begin to crack and rumble. Suddenly, our hero, clad in white, crashes through the wall, holding up the glowing gold orb. The bandits freeze in shock as the intruder calmly introduces himself. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see this absolute brawl